And we are back for part 2 of Mass Effect 3. Part 2! We're here. All right. We're going to just go ahead and kick it right back off. If you missed it, there's a part 1. It's the video before this. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be a link in the description. If you're watching on Spotify, shouldn't be too hard to find. Scroll back one. Yes. That's the easy part. So, part 2, and we're going to start this thing off with the DLC. Specifically, the DLC that gives you arguably the most important character in this game, and a DLC I thought was completely main story, because according to you guys, it very much should have been, because it was day one DLC that you had to pre-order. And
not just day one DLC, it was tied to a collector's edition of the game too. So you not only had to pre-order it, it had to be a special edition of the game.
Yeah,
it was like $80.
Yeah,
I saved up a bunch of money to get that edition.
The Legendary Edition already exists, and that's the one we're kind of like re-going over. But yeah, it still doesn't mean EA wasn't a piece of shit in 2012.
Yeah, that's really messed up when they did. But this is the Eden Prime, aka the Prothean, aka the Javik DLC, where you get a new companion, a Prothean, this race that you guys have, I say you guys, that Mass Effect has been talking about. They were the ones before us. They were the closest so far to stopping the Reapers, and they're always described as these like ancient, wise beings. Anytime I did one of these, I think it's required on the first mission to have Liara. I
think you're right.
Yeah, I think it is. Either way, anytime I had Javik, I had Liara for obvious reasons. But you finally meet Javik, and wouldn't you hold it, he is a complete, basically racist. He does not like the other races and just thinks he's superior in every way, which ultimately, not gonna lie, kind of makes sense when you really think about what these guys were.
Since, the Prothean Empire had spread so wide and was so technologically advanced, it was because they were really good at conquering literally every other species.
Yeah, you don't get to be number one species by being nice. So Javik's a bit of a prick, but he's funny. And he's quite entertaining. So Seth, are you there?
Everything good?
Okay. So
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I might have been my headphones. I thought you were trying to talk there. We'll fix that. We'll fix that in post because it's early on. Anyway, restarting. Yeah. So Javik's a really interesting character, and it brings a lot of like lore and backstory not only to the Protheans and to the Reapers. And yeah, Seth, I'll kind of let you take it away because this is an issue that the whole game has of why this is DLC. Or should I go to...
Oh, yeah, and you need the lore nerd to talk about this part, too. I got you.
A little bit.
Let me just adjust my glasses here. Yeah. All right, I'm ready to go. So, yeah, this is just one of those parts where you get more context on the backstory of both the Protheans and the Reapers, and it's especially important during one of the last missions of the game. It's actually a really neat plot twist, and Javik kind of provides that perspective, the Prothean perspective. But if you don't have the DLC,
you just don't get it.
You just don't understand it, and it feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere, rather. And Javik does such a good job explaining it, because one thing I want to praise is I do like their armor set and kind of the general shape that they look. And I think Bioware said this. Protheans and the Prothean Empire is kind of modeled after like kind of the Edo period Japan, the Japanese Empire. You can kind of tell by the way their like suits of armor are built, and like that kind of like design where they're sort of come together at like the chest. You can't see this, obviously it's audio, but I'm just like motioning towards my chest.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool design. I fucking love the look of the Protheans. I think
they look dope.
Yeah, they look like appropriately like alien and stuff like that, which is one of my criticisms, I think, with Mass Effect, I love it to death, but I wanted less human races because it's like,
The Asari.
well, I guess the Asari. Yeah,
The
It's really the
Asari.
Asari. I think they do a pretty decent job.
Well, when you've learned what the Quarians look like.
in the Quarians, yeah. The Quarians are also very human-like, but it's really cool to get the Protheans, and they just look. Yes, they do look kind of like insects, but they also look really refined. That's the best way. They do look very elegant, but also, as Javik kind of proves, he's brutal. Obviously, the mission when you return to Eden Prime, which is a really cool callback to the first game. But you go to Eden Prime and you bring along Liara, and it's such a fun kind of character moment where Liara has been basically just the biggest fanboy of this race. Basically, she spent her whole life studying them. Yeah, she's a big nerd. It's kind of like, how do I describe this? It's the difference of like what you learn about the Greeks in like elementary school and stuff like that. Like, oh, they have like all this mythology, and like they were the forefathers of like, democracy, and it's like it's what you learn about in like elementary school about Greek history, and then it's like actual Greek history. It's like, oh fuck. It's just like, this is terrible. And it's like and then it's like learning about real Prothean history. It's like, oh fuck. So these are just conquerors and people who, the reason they're so technologically advanced is because they beat the shit out of every other race and adopted it. It's like, oh my god. And enslaved them too. They were also really down for slavery. Can't forget that part. But Javik is cool because Javik basically, what makes his character interesting is, unlike what you might think of typically of Protheans and stuff like that, he was born during the war. So all his life he has known nothing but the war between the Protheans and the Reapers. That leads him to this very brutalist survival mindset. And it's kind of interesting because he's sort of like, because of this, him being a survivor, him being like a leader of his own people back then, he kind of is like a reflection of Shepard if he loses the war, but somehow survived.
Yeah.
Basically. Drew, I remember us kind of talking off podcast about this, but did you get my favorite voice line from Javik where he talks about ghosts?
I feel like I would remember if what you're talking about. I'm not sure.
Sounds like a no.
Yeah, probably not then. Since I'm confused of what you're talking about, more than likely yes. More likely no, I did not get that. Yeah.
It might be kind of close to the same stuff of like, it's a little bit of an edgy line, but I think it speaks to his character so well, where I forget what prompts it, but like you could talk about it and then like about what it takes to win this war. And Shepard wants to keep, and like it depending on how you play, it's like Shepard wants to keep their dignity. They want to keep their honor intact. And then Javik just responds with, stand in the grave of a trillion ghosts and ask them if honor matters.
Yeah, no way. Yes. Yeah, no, I know that. I know that. Yes, you're right. You're right. I know what you're talking about now. The second you said Shepard was talking about honor, I was like, oh yeah, that line. Yeah, I remember it now.
And I think it's cool because, like, I mean, there's obviously like characters that butt heads with Shepard all the time. They have disagreements, but this is the first character I think that actually understands the threat and the weight that is on Shepard's shoulder, and is basically telling him, "It's like you cannot.
You have to win. There's
It's like there is no plan B to this. You win or you die. Like that's it." And it's like, holy fuck. Like, it's such like a cool fucking moment. I love Javik for that. I also think they do really good comedy with them too, where it's the typical fish out of water stuff, but like I do think it was funny when he was commenting about the Solarians. It's like, I remember when they used to eat flies. It's like it's little, he's not trying to joke, it's just him being goofy.
Yeah. Yes. And every time I talk about Javik and think of all the moments Javik has, especially like on the next like story thing that we'll talk about that's not DLC, I'm always just reminded that that there are some people that played this game that didn't get this, and it just like
At least originally.
At
this point, he's there, but still.
I say again at this point, I'm just talking about like there was a period in time where there are certain players that didn't get and it's just like the story doesn't make sense. You miss out on all this. Like it's just like, how do you take this part out? That'd be like if somebody's like, yeah, there's a version of Star Wars that just doesn't have Han Solo in it, and I'm like, yeah, I guess it would work, but like how? Like,
nah, he'd just die on Hoth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, and it just doesn't make sense without this very key purpose, like this very key character, you know? Like it's so weird that every time I think about this, I'm just like, it's not base game. Even when like we were talking about it and I was because my issue with this game and with 2 is I will accidentally do DLC missions kind of back to back, like first, because I just don't realize until like I start the mission that I'm like, oh, this is clearly DLC. And this was the like time I was like, oh yeah, no, I got Jeff. And it's like, okay, so you beat that DLC. That was DLC, and like it was so weird to me that this was like that's always going to be mind blowing to me. I feel like I'm saying the same thing again, but like it's just
no. I think
so
to come up with a good comparison, imagine if like you had 2 versions of the very first Star Wars film, A New Hope.
Yeah.
You had one version that's the one we all know, and then you have another version that doesn't have Obi-Wan Kenobi in it at all.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need that character to provide you context about what's going on, like what the Jedi is and what the Force is. And in the same way, Javik is kind of like, you need him to explain what the Reaper's deal is and what the Protheans were up to and all this jazz. Without that, there's so much of this that just doesn't make sense.
It's wild to me. Yeah. Like, but ultimately as like like quote unquote DLC, but like really as just like a story thing, Javik's a great character. There would be a lot of missions, especially during like the next story arc, and a couple others. Anything that like I thought related to like very like Prothean stuff, there'd be times I would bring him and Liara along on my team because there were so many times their banter is like some of the best in the game of just Liara kind of coming to terms with like these people I idolized were monsters, and Javik being. Yeah, we'll get to it. But
it's like, yeah,
and
we were.
Javik being like, yeah, we were, and you'll find out
it was awesome,
and you'll find out pretty soon you're just as bad. He's just like,
yeah, you're not so fucking innocent either.
Yeah, so that's a really fun thing to deal with. And yeah, I think is there anything else that y'all want to talk about Javik, or you all move on to the next DLC?
He's a great character.
He's a great character, and I'm really glad that in the Legendary Edition, everyone gets to have him.
Gets him.
So
yeah, it's wild. It's wild to play this game, even thinking that you don't. Also, his gun's pretty fun. The Prothean gun's like a laser beam. That's fun.
It's fun particle beam rifle. It's
it's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's a beam, but the next story is let's go with the Omega story. You're going back to Omega, this is where all of in a lot of Mass Effect 2, you don't really hear about the crime families or the Syndicate or like any of this stuff other than
in
this.
Mass Effect 2. What do you mean?
No, I meant in 3. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I meant to say 3.
There's a whole arc that takes place.
No. I'm sorry. I meant to say 3. That was my fault. In 3, you don't, because it's all confined into this DLC. I didn't mean to say 2. Anyway, this is where you learn what happened to Omega. This is where, oh gosh, what is her name? The main character of this thing.
Arya,
thank you.
Arya T'Loak.
Yeah, yep. This is where she's a really cool.
Oh, by the way, I just want to throw this in here just because I'm a bastard with voice actors. The voice actress is the actress for Trinity in Matrix.
Oh.
Huh.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I can hear it.
Yep.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. But yeah,
Does it really add anything? Not really. I don't know. I guess it's just like Trinity.
Fun facts.
Okay, I don't know. I guess
Fun
I'm
facts with
attracted
Seth.
to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm just like how I was attracted to Trinity.
Sure.
There you go. It lines up.
Yeah,
You know what?
more
Fair.
fun. Anyway, yeah, see, this is where you learn about the other syndicates. Her, you guys are going to help me out with another name. You finally get a female, not Corian.
Turian.
The name of...
Nyx? I want to say her name is Nyx. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I played this DLC. Is it not Nyx?
It's not, but I don't remember what her name is. Una momento while I Google.
It's like,
but continue on
like,
with the story.
Randy
it's
will
like
figure.
something like Netra, but yeah, keep going.
But you learn about her. I actually, despite us fumbling on her name, I liked her character for the very brief moment that we got her. But yeah,
it's her relationship with Arya that makes it.
That's
too.
really
like the back and forth.
The fact that this and it's the first character that kind of like you as Shepard can go toe to toe with Arya in like banter and but everyone else kind of cowers except for her. So it's nice to see another character kind of like stand her ground to her, and they have a very good dialogue together. But yeah, I kind of the Omega DLC out of the 4 that are here, and it's weird to even count Javik, so I don't even know, but like I don't think it's as good as like the last one and Leviathan, and like Javik's a weird one to even put in because again it's so necessary to have, but it's a fine DLC. I don't think it's one of the ones where like this is one of the ones where like if you had to skip one of the DLCs, I guess you would do this one, and not because it's bad, but because the others are either too good or incredibly necessary.
Right.
But that said, I still like the Omega. I think, at least gameplay-wise, it was fun going through like the tower and kind of seeing, the underground city again. Because so much of Mass Effect 3 is big scale, like you're fighting Reapers. Everything's like the galaxy. But it's nice to do like the underworld kind of grimy slime setting again. You don't see a lot of that in Mass Effect 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to kind of revisit Omega.
And plus, I would say the DLC is a good showcase for the combat. Like it is like, it is very combat focused, even more than story. But I think it's good, especially since like they're throwing a lot more of the later game enemies of like Cerberus. So it's like a lot of phantoms, a lot of nemesises, the mech units.
Yeah.
But I think like since we were gonna come up with this at some point, this is a really good demonstration of the gameplay of like how well tight that they really got the gunplay and stuff like that. Like the cover and like the arenas and stuff like that are open just enough to where it feels like you are making like some sort of like tactical strategy with like how you're placing your squad mates and like shooting and like it feels nice. Mm-hmm. One of the things I would say about the gameplay that's really improved on, in my opinion, I don't know about you, Drew, but I really like that they took everything from Mass Effect 2 and they were like, all right, let's really delve into the whole evolve the power system. So you have like these separate little trees to like take powers down, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I really like that.
I appreciate that. I am probably the wrong person to ask about it because I play Mass Effect very different. I went through the entire game as one class, which according to you guys is probably not.
I found shocking.
Yeah, Randy was like
you didn't switch classes every game.
Because like, did you try out Nova though? Like Shockwave Nova is so good, and that's a new power that they added into Mass Effect 3.
I like bionic charge, Seth. I don't know what to tell you.
No. The charge, you pair it with the Nova. Like it's
that. You mean the new things they added to the different Yes. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, so I would do that. But I also like I went Vanguard, and my strategy for a majority of the game was be very light. Like, don't carry that many weapons, and constantly biotic charge thing to constantly refill my shield. So it meant I didn't use the cover system very much, but it would also be I would run forward, Nova Blast, bionic charge in, shotgun, reload, bionic charge until everything died. Occasionally throwing in a Nova Blast in there just cause. But
no, and I get that. Like that's the typical like way that Vanguards play is they just like charge in and they fight like that. And I think that's cool. I think it's neat that like you have different classes that can really allow you to get away with that kind of gameplay. It really does make it feel different. But I think what makes the game work is like the gunplay feels good. It's the best it is in Mass Effect 3, like hands down.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yes.
And also now, like one of the things I appreciate, it's like something you definitely use is like even if you're not using cover, the new thing that they added in was the ability for Shepard to dodge roll now, which is very helpful.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely use that.
So this is easily the most agile Shepard has ever been, and it feels good. It definitely brings it up to the standard of something I'd say like a Gears of War kind of like shooter with like how mobile you are, and you don't have to be in cover that much. So if you get kind of bored of it, you can kind of deal with it, whether you're a Vanguard or there's like all kinds of other things you can get to like focus modes on shields or something, you know. You can get energy drain as like a tech class, so you can like steal the shields back off of enemies.
I will say one of the few issues I had with the cover thing, I will agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you in the fact that like it's definitely the best it's been in any of the 3 games, which isn't saying a lot, especially for 1. But it definitely, like, gunplay is definitely sniper abilities have much more customization to them, so they feel more impactful. The one issue I do have is that like there's moments where like I would either get stuck on stuff, or it would be like if your ally is laying down, like downed, and you have to revive them, it's A to pick them up. But if they're next to cover, A is also the button to take cover. So there would be a lot of time.
Yeah, they didn't put too many things on one button.
There's a couple. Yeah. I think there's other examples of that.
Double tap A is dodge roll. Hold A is sprint.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hold A is to enter cover.
There's so
A
many
is to revive your teammate.
There's so many things, and I think there's like other buttons that like do too many things. And I'm like, I get that like they're probably it might be like a thing like if you play this game on PC, you don't have that issue. But like most people play it on console.
No,
like,
everything is still mapped to the space bar.
Okay, never mind then. Then it's just a mapping issue. But like,
I mean, you could remap it if you wanted to, but by default, it's still mapped to the space bar.
I agree. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but did they remove first aid kits in like Mass Effect 3? So you couldn't just revive by using a first aid kit as like an ability?
No, you can't.
No,
it's Unity. You just use that. You use Unity and it picks everyone up and it heals you, but it uses med gel. So yeah, you still have that. And so like that's what you end up doing, and that's probably what you're designed to do. It is just annoying of just like there is no like if you don't want to waste the med gel. Which, like, the game's not that hard if you play on medium difficulty, but, like, if you're trying to play on, like, the harder difficulty...
And it gives you a lot of med gel, too. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like,
but I imagine, like, if you're...
You were constantly stocked with it.
I imagine, like, if you're playing on the harder difficulties, you want to try to save those, like, revives. And like,
not really.
It's... Okay, then that case...
Because like and it's not just like, oh, I'm just great at the game. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, they restock the shit out of you, even on the higher difficulties, so that, like... Whenever a teammate does go down, it's like, yeah, it's better to just use the med gel.
Yeah, but it's just that was kind of the one thing I always found annoying is like there's too many things mapped to like certain buttons, especially A, because I could remember like on the top of my head 3 instances where I'm trying to pick one of my teammates up and I'm just like Shepard keeps back jumping into a corner. I'm like, god damn, fuck it, I'm using a med gel. Fuck this. It's just like, fuck it, I don't even care. I'm full health, but I don't care. I just get up. Get off the ground. So that's...
But one of the things I want to kind of speak on the combat is like mechanically this does feel the best, but also not only are the powers really good and customizable, like you mentioned you got Biotic Charge. Well, Biotic Charge gets way more insane in Mass Effect 3 just because of how much further you can push that power And not only the powers are neat and all the synergies you can do are really neat too, since they added in like bought a combo detonation all that. But I think the thing that really needs to be talked about is the gun customization is bonkers in this game, in my opinion. Like the amount of attachments you get in like how much you can kind of change the behavior of a gun is pretty crazy for the time.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is, but before we do that, I think we should round out the Omega DLC. By the way, the character's name you were searching for is Nyreen.
Nyreen.
Okay.
Nyreen.
And she's a cool companion for a little bit, but like, you know.
For a little bit, but also like, I mean, as a Paragon, yeah, you want to like save the citizens, but also we're talking about Omega. Everyone here is basically a criminal if you live on Omega.
All right.
So
they do.
I mean, it's very much established in the second game.
Yeah, but like that doesn't.
So
mean...
some of her complaints do fall a little bit on deaf ears. Just
yeah,
like,
right. Look, that doesn't mean they deserve death. Maybe some of them, but not all of them.
I suppose that is fair.
Yeah. Anyway, but like she's cool. We don't have too much time with her, and she really does just shine off other characters. And Omega kind of, finishes off with like generic.
Basically, you're fighting a captain dude.
Yeah.
For Cerberus, and he kind of fucked
over
Olgoth
or whatever.
Yeah, whoever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Basically, you could influence Ari on whether she's going to be a little more good-sided or not. And also, Nyreen ends up sacrificing herself to try and save some of the citizens, and that's basically the DLC.
Yeah.
I'm summarizing it way like simpler than it actually is.
I mean, no,
due to, like time.
Well, like we said, like Omega out of the DLCs isn't. It's a good DLC, but it is the most like if you don't play Omega, you're not missing too much. Because 2 of the DLCs are like almost required to get the full story, and then the other one's just too good to miss. This one is like the biggest thing that stands out about it is the fact that it is the best showcase of the combat, and that's kind of why me and Seth were starting to get more into it.
And also like it kind of helps like I don't know if resolves the right word. It's more like, hey, it gives you an update on a cool thing that we saw in Mass Effect 2. It's like, oh yeah, how's that station doing? Not really good right now. Cool.
Shocker. And yeah, I think that's what a DLC should do. It's like it sheds light on a subject that like this isn't the main focus of the story, but this is like an extra side thing. And there's plenty of that in Mass Effect. An extra side story that isn't gonna stop the Reapers entirely, but it's still an interesting part of this world. So it was cool to experience that. So yeah, I think that's all. And I think that's everything about Omega, unless I'm missing anything cool.
I mean, they introduced these weird like new squid looking. I guess they're not squids. I don't know. These different enemy types that are just like not as interesting banshees, I guess.
They're really big about like shields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a cool interrupt that is class specific if you're an engineer. That happens. I wish they would have done that in the actual game. I feel like your class would actually mean something more than just kind of combat.
Yeah, there's kind of a neat little moment where you kind of have to make a choice between one or the other. It's like either help get you, Arya, and Nyreen out of this furnace type area faster, or keep the power this way so that like you can rescue civilians in some other part of the station. But if you're an engineer, you do this interrupt where basically you accomplish both, and it's only available to the engineer, which is neat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I was thinking, dang, that. Ray, you're right. I wish that was kind of a thing that, like.
That's an actual thing, yeah.
An actual
They didn't
gameplay,
realize,
like,
maybe we should make this a thing until a DLC. And I was like, wow.
The last DLC on the last game, huh? Well, like, it's not the last one that came out, but, like, you know what I mean.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with Randy. I kind of and it's a general like a thing with RPGs. I appreciate it much more anytime an RPG does that where they like acknowledge a class or a perk and it impacts
A story.
like a quest. Yeah, like recently I've been playing well, not recently been playing, but like I did play like a lot of Starfield when it first came out, and that game does a lot of that kind of stuff where it's just like your backstory, your perks, even like whatever you pick has a pretty big impact on like how the game is played. Or sorry, not how do I rephrase that? Of course it does have a big impact. It has like little cool story moments and different quests and stuff like that based on what perks you pick. Even something like I saw something in Starfield where even if you went with a perk that all it does is like, yeah, it unlocks new upgrade items for your guns. I found that there were dialogue options specific for that too. Like a guy was like trying to fleece me on a gun I was trying to sell him. It's like, oh, actually, based on this perk I have, this gun has custom parts on it, so it's worth way more than you're offering. You know, that kind of shit. So it'd be cool if like Mass Effect did that, because they all. I feel like the closest it does is with Paragon and Renegade.
Yeah.
Basically, the more Paragon or the more Renegade you are, the more dialogue options you have like that. And it's a shame too that it feels like as the games go on further, your kind of backstory that you pick for Shepard and Mass Effect 1 kind of matters less and less.
Oh yeah, they're like I always forget that I do that, like what I picked for that. At the very beginning of the game,
Yeah.
you could pick like his backstory, and like yeah, by the third game it doesn't matter. Which again, this is a hard Mass Effect is like one of the hardest type of, I forget what this like genre is called, but like the almost choose your own adventure type thing where your choices will affect things in the future. It's a hard thing to write because everything, obviously not every decision, but like a lot of decisions lead to branching paths. Obviously, because a video game, they'll come back and there's only so many ways it can go. So ultimately, yes, it's hard to write more and more different pathways for this to go. Still, though, you know, with something as important as what class you're picking, that should kind of make an impact. I would honestly say I would rather the class you pick dictate your background and like make more of an impact than the random background thing you chose at the beginning of the game.
I kind of agree with that too.
Yeah.
Like it would just be neat, like maybe specific interrupts to where like if you have like a infiltrator Shepherd, maybe there's something where it allows him to do like sometimes some more like stealthier options during like quests or whatever.
Yeah. So little things like that would have been cool, but at the very least, it's cool that it happened once in this DLC.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving forward to the Leviathan DLC. And this is another one where it's a big lore dump, but it makes the ending make so much more sense and actually like explains a lot of. This was the one where I'm like, oh, I get it now. I don't like it, but I get it now. I get what they're going for. But I am gonna have to call on Seth as to kind of nerd this one. And
The resident one who knows more lore than I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask
The
Seth.
lore nerd on Mass Effect.
I'm gonna have to ask Seth to be a lore nerd again on this one. So tell us a little bit about what Leviathan is, especially compared to the other Reapers.
Yeah, so like go and talk, just skipping the head of the story and just explain what the Leviathan is. These are basically the oldest race in the universe, period, alive. They are the giant squid creatures that the Reapers are based on, that they base their design on. They were this massive telepathic race. They were the apex species during their time, and in a way, kind of still are. So one of the so this is where we get into the weird story stuff here. Apparently, long time ago, they were kind of observing other organics and saw that a lot of species were wiping themselves out because they would develop artificial intelligence, and eventually the AI would outpace them, and then like to them inevitably it would wipe out the organic race. So, in their infinite fucking wisdom, they decided that they would build Reapers, synthetic life, in order to stop organics from building synthetic life that would destroy them.
God, this is stupid.
It's stupid.
It's
There's
so-
really no other way around it.
Like, I remember when this happened, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I must be missing something. I must be. And then you explained it to me, and I'm like, no, I understand it completely, actually, the first time. It's still stupid.
The best equivalent I can think of is, do you remember the scene from Talladega Nights where they think, where Will Ferrell, Ricky Bobby, is convinced that he's paralyzed and stabs himself with a knife in the leg,
and he screams,
and they try to dig it out with another knife. That is that scene for this lore of explaining the Reaper's purpose.
God, that's such a good comparison.
Here's the thing, like I'm down with the idea of, like, okay, maybe there is something there with like a synthetic versus organic life thing, and maybe it was one of those things where like maybe it is part of its program, because like technically they are right. The Reapers don't wipe out all organic life; they just wipe out the most advanced races, and then allows the rest of them to grow. But but it still seems so stupid that apparently the most intelligent organic life in the universe is like, these races keep creating synthetics that destroy themselves. We will create even stronger synthetics
and destroy
so
them
that they
first.
can stop them from destroying themselves. Like, that doesn't make fucking sense.
By destroying them.
Stupid.
It's so fucking... We need to stop organics from... and synthetics from killing each other. The solution will have been synthetics and organics killing each other. What? What are you fucking...
It's like that.
They're trying to stop
a
conflict. They're trying to stop the conflict of war with a war, but like... And like, all right, I need to talk about a line in the ending, because they talk about this during the ending too, when Shepard's talking to a thing that we'll get to. Anyway, they're like, Shepard asked them the legitimate question of like, isn't this just exactly what you're trying to stop? Like, this looks like war to me. He's like, it's not war. We're just fire. We're just natural. I'm like, you're not natural. You were built. You were designed, which means you went synthetic.
It's just like, so basically it's like everything you just said is bullshit there.
That doesn't
just like that.
but you said like, oh, but I'm fire, and I'm like, that doesn't answer the fucking question. It's so goddamn stupid, and it's so disappointing because Mass Effect is it's so disappointing because Mass Effect is so well written. It has such great characters. It's really like engaging story. Like, it has the Genophades, it has the Geth versus the Quarian, it has all these great stories, but this is the big bad. This is, I know it's the DLC, but this really explains like the ending, and like this is what this led to, and I'm like, God damn it.
It's dumb. And the thing is, it's like, that is something that they were kind of trying. And so Drew, I had to explain this. Obviously, people were upset with the original ending of this, and a lot of people were kind of hoping that, like, okay, maybe this new DLC, the Leviathan DLC, will help shed some light on like what the hell that kid was saying. Maybe it will help improve things, make it a little better, yada yada. And then this DLC drops, and it's kind of like, nope, everything the kid mentioned before is still there.
They doubled down. They fucking doubled down.
They doubled down, and it's fucking dumb still. I hate to be overly harsh with it, but like, I mean, that's the way it is. It really is.
No, I feel exactly the same way you could, because like, I spent 3 very long games learning, and the Reapers has so much mystery about them, where they came from, what they do. And to have, this is the story of Mass Effect. This is the big, the big bad, like everything. And to have it be what it is really like, it's disappointing, and it feels like, I don't know, like, to have it be really stupid, and it tries to be smart. I think that's the other thing. It'd be one thing if it was like, oh, it even Shepard's like, and everyone's like, it knows it's done. Maybe it's like, oh, it's a rogue AI. It's like faulty or whatever, and that's what it is. Whatever. No, it tries to be smart, and the game treats it like this is a smart thing they're saying. It's not a smart thing they're saying.
You should really considering this. It's just like, no, it's still fucking stupid,
Like,
bro. Like, what are you on about?
It's
Nah, I get what you mean. It's something that like I said, I dearly love Mass Effect, but this is just dumb. Like there's really no way around it.
yeah.
But like here's the thing though. Like besides that, I do think the reveal of the Leviathans is cool. Like
Yeah, I think the actual.
I do.
We're just going to rant, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I'm cool with the idea that, like, yes, this is the race of these Leviathans is the race that, like, created the Reapers. I'm even cool with that idea. The reason why is stupid, but the fact that, like, okay, let's rewind a bit. So how this DLC actually works is you're trying to find the Leviathans, specifically the Leviathan Abyss, which is actually something that was teased all the way back in Mass Effect 1. And what's cool is it's kind of like a Lovecraftian horror story where you're kind of like just investigating these leads. People are suddenly changing or having their minds taken over by something. And it's cool. I really like I wouldn't say it's full blown horror, but it gets into like a little bit of like creepy territory, especially for Mass Effect, like what they're usually going with. So that's cool. I really like just the general feel and atmosphere of this DLC.
I just realized how Lovecraftian this is, especially since the Leviathan is an octopus-like monster like Cthulhu, and like half of Lovecraftian story is about people like being mind controlled and moving in their sleep. And I'm just like, oh hell, this is Lovecraft, and it even has the very complicated space backstory lore that is added into it. I'm like, oh shit, this is, and it's even got the full-blown racist, and that's just Javik. If you just bring him along, you make it exactly.
If you bring him,
just bring him.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man. It's cool. I think it's neat.
I was like to the point where I'm like, this might be a reference. This might be.
But yeah, I really like this DLC just for its atmosphere alone, especially since like you have like a lot of like cool moments like that, like the asteroid station, exploring that. The final part of the DLC, especially when you're on that you're on this planet where all these ships have fucking like crashed into because of the pull of the Leviathan. And
that's amazing. I like that a lot.
But holy shit, and I'm not really down for always those slow walking scripted sequences. Ask anyone, I'm usually bored by them. But when you're actually in the like diving suit with Shepard and you're going further and further down into the ocean, and it's all in first person, is like, this is cool.
It gave
like,
me
there's just no other way.
It gave me very BioShock vibes. It was very, and maybe it's because maybe because I played those games before this, but I was like, it was very BioShocky. Now the Leviathan actually, like, I like its design. I like this race that like this was the first thing that did. So I think ultimately it's a good DLC. It just, and I feel like most of my issues are really with the ending, not this DLC. But this DLC just kind of like doubles down on the ending. One of the complaints I have though, and it's about this, and it also is about the other thing, and I realize it probably would have been hard, but there's so many extra cutscenes already in the ending that like I really wish this would have happened. Is if they actually like showed up during the final battle and you saw them fight. I wish that happened. Same with the insect queen, whatever they were called, the thing that almost killed Grunt.
The Rachni.
The Rachni, I wish you saw them. We saw any of these things, but it's just ship shooting at each other, which is cool. It's a cool scene, but that's, I guess that's really for
the best. Yeah. No, I get what you mean, because the best you get is there's like a short, and this was the way it was originally when they put it in the DLC too, is there's a short line like, oh yeah, the Leviathans are here too, and that's all you ever hear about them, like in the final battle. Which is a shame, because like there's a cool cutscene that shows like a Reaper descending on the planet, and it shows the Leviathan basically just turn all its soldiers against themselves and just rip the Reaper's reinforcements apart and just blow it out of the sky. It's like, that's cool. It really demonstrates the power of this species.
Yeah, it would have been really cool to like kind of see it show up, or maybe even see it kind of get overwhelmed by like how many other Reapers it is, but just like something. But ultimately, that it's all things that like I don't have issues with the Leviathan DLC per se, but I just have really issues with the ending. But the Leviathan DLC is associated with the ending, so that's why I keep drawing back to it. Randy, any other points with the Leviathan DLC or the characters associated with it?
I like that it kind of starts out pretty, like it's a mystery for a good part of it, and I like that you kind of take Edie along with you and have to. There's like a very light, like bit of puzzle that I mean you would pretty much get if you kind of did the missions back to back to back, for the most part, with the context clues and stuff. So I like that they kind of threw that in as something a little different for Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But yeah,
A little bit of puzzle
that's all I have to say on it. Just kind of like that they added some new stuff.
Plus, there's a little head that you can poke, and eventually James is like, take it to your office. And you're like, don't tell me what to do. And then you take it to your office. That's what I do. I have that fucking little zombie head in my office.
I do like that little moment where every time you check in with James, he's dick around with the thing until it fucking tries to bite him.
Yeah.
I think I remember I actually remember this. I thought it was actually kind of funny where he was kind of like, he's messing with it and he's like, ow, fuck. And he's like, hey, Shepard, do you know if you get bit by a husk, you turn into one? God damn it. Shut the fuck up. You're so stupid. I love you. But yeah, that's the Leviathan DLC.
Yeah. So now, the DLC that you guys probably want to really talk about, and so do I, the best DLC, which is the clone DLC, aka the party / like, character DLC.
The Citadel DLC.
The Citadel DLC. I gave it
the Citadel
really...
DLC.
So, me and Seth have been blabbering on a lot, Randy, and I gotta keep you awake. So, tell us a little bit. Let's just talk about the clone part of the deal, the actual mission part of the Citadel DLC, for starters. Randy,
Yes.
do that.
Sorry. State that one more time.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about like the mission part of the Citadel DLC.
Okay, the mission part. Got it. Okay. Sorry. It's late.
You're good.
So the main mission is you end up taking a bit of shore leave with you and your crew, and this is where you get to interact with a lot of characters throughout the entire trilogy of it. So you go to take shore leave, and Joker says, "Hey, let's go get some sushi at this like incredible restaurant that he's like, I've always been wanting to go, but never had the money to go. But if we're fighting the Reapers, this might be the end. Then let's just go." You go there, and basically this military group that's been stalking Shepard shows up, and you fall through the fucking fish floor. By the way, the floor of this restaurant is a fucking aquarium. It's pretty cool. And they shoot it out, and you fall under it. There's a funny joke where you use Joker as bait.
Did you use me as bait?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you have an option to not?
No. You absolutely have
you
to.
absolutely have to,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
funny.
Oh, you're quoting Joker saying that. I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah. You get a slight heads up that these people are coming, like just barely by God, what is her name?
New bitch.
Oh,
That's-
oh God, yeah, I don't remember her name. The new lady.
Yeah.
Basically, undercover agent woman.
Yeah.
Asian woman.
Yeah, she shows up and is like, "Hey, these people are coming to get you, and you fall through the fish tank. You have this like big fight through the streets. You end up meeting up with it's your romance, whoever you're romancing, if they're like a companion, in what looks like, I guess, a space car dealership, space taxi. Anyway,
Yeah.
if not, if you're not romancing any like squad mate like that, it's just Liara, and she flirts with you, which fair.
Yeah.
Um, and also
She got
this
that game. Get it.
yeah,
She's
this
her race
entire
is
like
always horny. That's who they are.
all right, entire Citadel DLC is actually like really funny in regards to writing. They
Oh.
really got to just like have fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Some of the best writing in the game.
Because shortly after, like you meet at this car dealership, space car dealership, these mercenaries continue to show up and try and attack you, and you just have Rex falling out of the sky on top of the bad guys, the mercenaries like space car, and he just wrecks their shit. Which this is also awesome. You get to have Rex back as like a squad mate that you can choose for a period of time.
I missed having Rex as a
And you're
squad
like,
mate.
man, why can't I always just have you as a squad mate?
Yeah.
Because that is kind of crazy. Like, you get him in one,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't get him as a squad mate again the rest of the trilogy.
And
You
yet
know
you
what-
feel his presence throughout the whole series. And I think that's the funny thing. Is
Yeah.
like it's almost easy to forget that he's not a squad mate after 1.
It's also
Yeah.
wild to me that 3 is the only game where there is no, other than this DLC, there is no option for a
Krogan squad mate.
Krogan squad mate, because you can't have
They'd
Grunt
be OP.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
But
I don't want it.
But yeah, basically that's part of the overarching mission of this DLC is you're leading down this way to kind of track who these mercenaries are and whatnot, and you end up getting trapped in a I guess like a pod of some sort, like a storage pod.
They're in like the old Citadel archives. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the old Citadel archives looking at data. You get a really cool. You get the M7 Avenger, which is the old version of the like base assault rifle.
Yeah.
So it's like the one in Mass Effect 1, so it never runs out of ammo.
Yeah,
It switches back to that kind of old style, which is fun. And you find out, oh shit, it's a clone, and the lady who was helping us like do this research on these bad guys was actually she's
Bitch.
actually she's a bitch, and she betrayed you. I guess also leading up to this, as you're going into the Citadel archives, you actually you bring the entire squad, don't you? And there's this
Yeah.
really funny scene about like them climbing up a ladder, and it's just like, you can't shoot at us, we're climbing up a ladder, we can't do anything. And then also like there's a point to where like the whole squad gets up there, and like you're getting ready to climb the ladder, and a bunch of the other like mercenaries come out, and your squad's at like the top of the balcony, and they just like it's like 12 people, it's like the entire cast are just firing their guns down at these people. And like I know there's a line from like Rex, he's like, this is what I like, you guys, because what's the point of shooting something once when you can shoot it 100 times or something
It's
that?
it's like a scene from the fucking like an Expendables movie. Just seeing
Yeah.
like all like 12 of them just firing at the same time. One of the funniest things I ever saw that someone pointed out to me is whoever gets posted on the far left. For some people, if they don't have her in the immediate squad, it's Tally. I think someone in the far left is literally just firing it to the wall because there's no more room left for them to shoot anything
Yeah.
else.
It's just like
I just want to participate.
I like to think of it as not a clipping issue, and it's just like a thing, or just like literally everyone is just like, well, I want to feel involved too.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different like jokes and stuff that happens throughout here, but we'll be here all day if I just
Yeah.
like try and one, I don't 100% remember all of them. I remember like them being very good and fun, but
No,
we'll also be here all day.
Yeah, this is the funniest that Mass Effect has ever been. Just go and
Yeah.
play the DLC. Like that's all.
Bro,
I can tell you.
do it. I know we got to skip over this, but like I do want to mention the undercover mission where you're going to the casino and you have to like bring a date along, and it obviously is pushing you hard to like bring your love interest, but picking Rex is the funniest fucking shit.
Yeah, if anything, just watch like all the different intros for that with all the different companions. Like there's definitely a compilation on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's so fun.
man.
yeah.
You ultimately
So
catch up with your clone.
yeah, you ultimately the clone goes to take over. They're like, I'm gonna take your ship and take your life, basically. And so you go to catch up with them. They're like, shit, we're locked out of the thing, but we could get in the emergency escape hatch, but like we'll have to have a really precise like Mass Effect field would be able to like open it from the outside. And you have fucking specialist trainer who's basically your like person who stands next to the map who's like, hey, you have a message from blah blah blah, or someone wants to see you on like the armory deck or whatever. Yeah.
She's also
and
a lesbian.
She is.
Woo!
Yeah. She has a she has a very specific toothbrush, which is mentioned at the very beginning of the game, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And now it's gonna use it to be able for you to like be able to get your shit back. But yeah, you ultimately catch up to your clone and the lady who's betrays you, whose names I'm not remembering.
Who cares?
New
Who
bitch.
cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You fight them and like you can have a like, and it's actually a pretty difficult fight because they're the same class as you and everything, and so it's a pretty engaging fight. And I think like it's mostly done for the fun. Like I remember there's a line to where like all throughout the trilogy there's a joke, I guess an internal joke about there's only so many ways to say like bye or like I'm leaving, and like one of the classes ones is just I should go. And so there's this whole joke to where when the clone is like gonna leave you locked up in the pod and he's like, I guess I should go. And then you just have this whole banter with you like,
Shepard
do I sound
gives
like
them
that?
The regular Shepard just gives him the most stank eye look. Like, what the fuck did you just say?
I could go.
I love that part too.
But yeah, that's kind of that's the actual
Yeah.
like mission part of it. But what we're really here for is honestly all the character interactions and the party afterwards.
Yeah.
So since I just went on about the clones and stuff, I'm gonna let you guys talk about that.
Yeah, I'll talk
All
about the
right,
party.
dope. It's party time.
So yeah, you do this whole clone thing, and like Randy mentioned, this is some of the funniest that Mass Effect has ever been. It is like so much banter. It is so much like character moments. It is some of the best Mass Effect that is ever Mass Effect. If they ever do a show, which I'm still of the mindset, I don't think Mass Effect works as a show because it's so built on like your own choices. So that doesn't really work for this kind of for like a show unless like you do like a Bandersnatch situation, which would take freaking 6 years just to get a season out. But anyway, this would be like the closest that we would ever get. And it just like works with like how these characters are written. And even Shepard, who normally is like only does what you say, even he has some fun moments in dialogue. But you get to the party and you have all these side missions with people, which we've referenced them as, you know, we've been talking, but they're all great and they just give more character moments that are just beautiful. You know, Tally and Liara playing the piano, shooting with Garrus. All these moments and you know, you take Garrus on a date, try to pick up a girl if you're a dude, or you actually go on a date with him if you're a girl. It's all these great, and it leads to this party where you can invite everyone. And there's so many freaking fun, dumb moments of just you and your squad getting drunk together. Edie, which I guess we never really talked about, the robot companion trying to convince Joker to dance, even though he's got his noodle legs. You even have like even some of the smaller characters that we don't care too much about are there and have it. Like Jacob's there, Miranda, Zaid actually has some pretty funny lines in there, and it's just like so. It is the whole party and this whole DLC is very much like, to me, is like the perfect like send off for these characters. Like, no matter who your favorite character is, they had a moment in here. No matter like what your favorite part of Mass Effect is, it's like has some kind of reference in here. Even after the entire party's said and done, and you have this great group picture, the game gives you audio files from Morden that of him like singing to you or just talking to you, and it's beautiful, and it almost like got me emotional again. But this whole like party scene is such like a good send off to these characters. Like, this is such a believable relationship of them, like such believable friendships and personalities that finally culminated, and the whole party DLC is really just like this big moment of like we're gonna have fun with these characters, and we're gonna give them this big farewell, and it ends on such a somber moment of them like, well, you know, it was an exciting shore leave, but shore leave only lasts so long, and then you have to go off and actually do the final mission. But Seth, I went on a little bit. Yeah, what's kind of your favorite part about this DLC? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I think the ending hits it well, especially since one thing that kind of helps is understanding the context of this coming out. Obviously, after some updates, including one that changed the ending of the game to like not change what happened, but provides a little bit more context, which was very much appreciated. The game was getting into a better state where it was being more appreciated, like with like fans.
Yeah.
People were still obviously upset with like things and how they turned out, but it was clear that things had gotten better, you know? Mm-hmm. So we knew that Citadel was going to be the last DLC. And I think what really does it is you get just a huge fan servicey thing where, yes, the dialogue is very fan servicey almost. I remember some people describe it at the time as like it's almost fan fiction-y with how goofy it is, which, you know what, at this point, fair. It's like the writers are just like, fuck it, this is the last hurrah we're gonna have with these characters. Let's make the most of it and just have a big party and have fun with it. And I think that's the best way you could send off these characters. Because, yes, it's set before the ending of Mass Effect 3, but this is kind of like the real ending. This is you saying goodbye to everyone. And it's done in just such a goofy fashion. And I appreciate that there's that bit of somberness at the end. Like, just, you know, you're going to be your love interest. It's just like, they'll usually say something that's like, it's one hell of a night, and then just Shepard just quietly says like, yep, the best, and it just ends quietly with all of them returning to Normandy, a lot of them knowing that their fate is now basically like the end of the universe. So I love it. It's fun. I laugh. It can get me emotional at times too. There's just great. Like, name a character and they have a fun fucking moment in this DLC. Yeah. Even ones that you probably don't care for as much. So yeah, for my favorite moment, it's hard to pin it down. I do tend to gravitate more towards the goofy stuff. So obviously, I really like James Vega's like, what was it, 100 pull-up challenge, and you can actually have
you can actually beat it.
Yeah, it's insane, but you can do it if you're willing to endure like all the interrupts to get there. I really like Grunts, where he's like, where Grunt retells like what happened the night before, and it has like these little mini flashbacks. Oh my god, yeah. Probably my favorite is, and it's bias, I really like Tally's, especially if you romance. Even if you don't romance her, it's still a lot of fun, but especially like if you do. And God, I wish I could remember the line that she said, because there's a line that she says in Mass Effect 2, like this really sweet, touching line, and in Mass Effect 3, she wants to watch Fleet and Flotilla, which is like this
Oh,
romantic soap
dude.
opera. But if you listen to like what they're saying on the soap opera, they say the line that Tally like tells Shepard in like their romance, and it's like, oh my God, Tally quoted a fucking soap opera whenever she's like getting romantic with Shepard in Mass Effect 2. It's like
She's
so fucking nerdy, and I love
she's
it.
such a dork, and I love her.
So I love that. Like, it adds so much to her character, and like I said, it's just fun to just have like the because it reminds me of, obviously with my friends, just like, yeah, we just watch like purposely shitty TV just because we just enjoy our company and all that. So that probably is like one of my favorite personal like character moments. God, there's so many. Like,
I
there
must
really
say,
is so
yeah.
many. Even Trainer. I really like Trainers when she's like challenging that one like chess dude or whatever.
Yeah.
And it does like the fucking black bar lines like when she's getting super serious. And then like and then there's like a part where it's Trainer's like, Shepard, what should I do here? And it's like, Trainer. And then it gives the black bars finally to Shepard, just as I like, kick her ass. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is fucking stupid. But
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of like really fun interactions like
I
that.
think I liked Trainer
love
more, Larry, that she's a chess nerd as well, because of like, as someone who played chess in high school, well, not in high school, but like, I know I was never on the team in high school, but I played at middle school, did a lot of high school. I was like, I appreciate this. I like, I like that like half
scene.
Yeah, I like how half the freaking Mass Effect crew, especially like all the females on your thing, are just like. They always like themselves like, yeah, I'm like femme fatales, where it's like you're all just dorks, and like you're great and lovable, but you're just dorks. So many of you.
Yeah. There's also in this with that same there's a mission to where if you're romancing Garrus, there's like a super fun like night on the town with him. In the normal, like, if you're not romancing him, it's just like, all right, I'm gonna try and get you a date.
Which is also quite
Garrus.
funny.
It is pretty funny to see him stumble over it, but if you're dating Garrus, there's a like a really fun like dance, and I'm like, all right, Garrus, I didn't know you had these moves.
Bro.
Like everyone did, like the people in the club are like, damn, and then like you get a nice little cheer and whatnot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
I was like, because it's kind of funny because normal like this is a bit of a pattern in the romances in the game is like Shepard engages, the romanced partner stumbles a little, and then they come together more, and then they bang before the final fight, and then it's over. But it's still that similar dynamic of Shepard engages, the person you're trying to be romantic with fumbles along and whatnot. So it was really cool to see kind of the opposite of that, to where you have kind of some flirting back and forth between you and Garrus. Then he's like, all right, we're gonna dance, and Shepard's just like, what? No, no, stop. But it actually turns out pretty well.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's also funny because Shepard's not known for his dance moves. Or her
I must
dance
say,
moves.
I don't know how femship is, but like male Shepard dances like me in real life, which for those who don't know is bad. Which is the reason I relate to Shepard, so that's funny. That is funny that's is a consistent even with female, and even when he's on a date or they're on a date with Garrus. But yeah,
It's cool.
It's a good DLC. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think one thing that the DLC gets right is the romantic moments, because this is like one of like, not complaints, but it's a trope you kind of notice with a lot of games, like with romantic like stuff, is that it feels like it's all builds up to the sex scene. It's like, there it is, there's the sex scene, congratulations, you got your goal. That's it. That's all the romance. I like how it feels like with Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC, they're kind of capping out the romantic subplots, not with like, sex scene or whatever, but it's like just
Although I think at the end of the party you do bang.
yeah, but they don't show anything. They don't even but like
I mean, you just end up in bed next to the person, which like at this point in your relationship with whoever you are, it's very known to the crew you're with them. So it could just be like you just end up in the same bed because you sleep in the same bed because you're a couple.
Yeah.
Also, if you're with Tally, she's incredibly intoxicated, so I hope you don't do anything with that.
Yeah, but like I think what makes it work for me personally is I just like the fact that you just have these nice little sweet moments as like the romantic subplot cappers. At least to me, that's how I view them. It's just kind of like it's nice to have that. Whether it's with Tally or Liara or Garrus. Like to me, I'm hoping more games do that where I'm a little bored of games where like romance is all about the sex scene at the end that you get. It's like I don't know.
That's the peak of our relationship.
Yeah, and it's just like I would like a little bit more than that. Like something a little bit more about like the characters. Like it would be cool if they figure out a way to make a satisfying romantic subplot line cap out in a video game where it's just you guys going fucking shopping at like a grocery store.
That's
something mundane like that.
That's the scene that you wanted in Final Fantasy 16. Even you were always talking about you wanted the beach scene just to be hard and gory. And nah. You just wanted Clive and Jill just to go shopping. And just be wholesome as fuck.
Yeah, it's just like, I think I much prefer that. But
fair.
Like more than that, like everything, like the Citadel DLC caps out everything so well. And I think that's something that we kind of talk about, like you mentioned earlier, is the one thing that Mass Effect 3 in general gets right, not just the Citadel DLC, is just that they do such a good job with wrapping up character plot lines, even ones that like you didn't really care for that much. Have like satisfying like conclusions.
Yeah.
So while the main story may have some issues, I feel like the character plots for the most part isn't it.
This was their way of like they didn't fix the ending. They just gave us a different one and a better one. And I would say like this is by far like my favorite Mass Effect DLC, but definitely probably the best DLC of Mass Effect 3. And I don't...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I can't imagine either of you disagree.
Agreed.
So...
Oh, yeah, no, it's not even a fucking competition.
Yeah, no, it's obvious this is where they put everything into. But with that, shore leave can only last so long, and you do have to go back to active duty. So we do have to go back and talk about the last arc before the finale. It's a quick one, but it's the Asari planet, and I would Thessia, thank you. It actually has a pretty cool reveal on it. You're kind of at this point in the game, you're still working on the Crucible, and you're like, it's missing a piece. It's not working for some reason. And that's when the Asari councilwoman comes and is like, so we might have this secret that we didn't tell anyone. Shepard's like, you fucking have a what? You didn't tell anyone? And so she's like, yeah.
I have the last piece of the Crucible just lying around somewhere.
And
like, what the fuck do you mean?
And Shepard's like, my home's on fire, and now you think this is a good moment to bring this up? She's like, look, do you want it or not? So Shepard goes and gets it. And I'm really glad I brought Javik with me on this mission. I'm pretty sure you have to bring Liara. I don't think there's an option for that. But you bring Javik as well because, after fighting through it, and as you get to the planet, the Reapers also are attacking the planet. So, that's fun to deal with.
Fun stuff
to deal with. So you get there, and this is where you learn that not only did they have a piece of a Crucible, but they had essentially and Seth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to do my best here. Essentially the device or the thing that gives people bionic powers, but the Asari are essentially hoarding it for themselves.
No.
Okay, never
not
mind.
that. but it's more like they have been sitting on a huge cache of Prothean technology this whole time, including a Prothean beacon. And it seems to indicate that they knew to some degree already about the Reapers, but decided to not do anything with it and instead hoard that technology for themselves so that they could be the most advanced race in the galaxy.
Yeah. Essentially,
The
yeah.
Protheans, and Javik explains this very well, the Protheans had picked the Asari to lead the next generation of organics against the Reapers. So they entrusted all their most valuable caches of technology and information to them. What they didn't account for is that instead of the Asari heeding their warnings, they just held on to that cache of technology so that they could grow their own power, like in terms of politically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's a crazy reveal because it's like the whole game the Asari are kind of like elves, like in like other fantasy media,
Yeah.
where oh, they're such a beautiful and powerful, wise race. We have to listen to them. They're more ancient than anyone else. They have to have the most wisdom. Well, there's a fucking reason for that, and it's the reason why is because they've been holding out on everybody else. And when they could have been help preparing everybody else for the Reaper invasion, they instead wanted to just elevate their own status. And I'm like, holy fuck, that's crazy. That's a fucking insane reveal.
That was it was a bit confusing at the moment, but like once you get it, you're like, oh, it makes so much sense of like, because like you, not just this game, in all three games, Asari walk around like, you know, they're the hottest bitch in town. You know,
because they are.
I mean, yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, all right. But yeah, I mean, like they're like, yeah, we're the most dominant species. We can mate with others. We have all these like psychic powers or whatever. They're usually like always in some form of like hierarchy. And now it all makes sense of why they are like that, and it makes so much sense in the world. It's to the point where I'm like, how did I not? When you find, it's one of those reveals where I'm like, you should almost like wish like, how did I not see this coming beforehand? But like, how could you have? No, I thought it was super cool. I thought like this moment was like so, and listening to Javik explain this and Liara's kind of reaction to it was like a really cool character moment for both of them.
Yeah, because it's like Javik is obviously showing his disdain for like why has Javik been such a kind of an asshole this whole time. This is kind of the reason why. It's because it's just like we literally gave you everything we could and you wasted it.
This is where we're at.
And then like for Liara, it's just horrific. Everything she knew is just wrong, but also the fact that her very own people were just basically, in a way, kind of doomed the galaxy just for personal gain. It's like, goddamn, that's a lot.
Gosh.
Yeah. It's
such a good.
And then it all gets ruined by Kai Stinky Kai coming to just ruin the plot.
Yep.
And kill you and beat you because cutscene.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I think that's a worse moment. I think that moment might be more frustrating than the first time you fight him, because like maybe it was just because it happened more recently, or it might be just because it's the second time it happened. But the fact that he's like, after he beats you, he like taunts you like, "Yeah, I'm so much better than you." I'm like, you hit me like twice during that cutscene, and I fucking ripped your shields in half. You son of a bitch.
And you had to call in like a gunship to get you the help, get help most of the time. It's just like, you fucking suck.
Like the only thing hard about your boss fight was the fact that because of where the sun is in the map, when you first fight him, he feels like you're getting flashbanged. That's a weird nitpick.
Yeah,
that might have just been a me issue, but still.
No, I mean, it's pretty bright. There's
Okay.
some big lens flare happening. J.J. Abrams directed that part.
Usually Christopher Nolan handles the Reapers. J.J. Abrams took over for that particular moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Colleen has to come in and spoil the fun, but
And ruin it. Yeah, he shows up and then he just like slowly walks up and bodies both of your companions before like kicking you off of a ledge because like part of the floor crumbles out from underneath you basically. Grabs the it's not the grabs the MacGuffin. What are they
Yeah.
getting from there?
I mean, it's like basically the
It's
beacon.
it's yeah, it's like a little AI. I forget the name. It's like the Cipher or some shit.
Oh,
like
it's
that.
the Prothean AI, ain't it? It's that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He grabs the MacGuffin.
Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Yes, you're right. Yeah. And runs. And
Yeah.
that
Like
kind
a
of
bitch.
yeah, that kind of leads into the thing we've been talking about for majority of this thing is the big finale. Starting with the assault onto the Cerberus base into the big finisher. And I think kind of leading into this is the moment where, because I think this is the, well, okay, I guess I should pause and wait, because there is another, no, I'm going to do this in the right order. Okay, let's talk about the elusive man. Let's talk about him first and like his whole character. So in this game,
I mean, yeah, at the end of this we then go to his base. So yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah, I was like, this is a good moment.
I feel like we could kind of skip over Sanctuary because Sanctuary is just like you attack a Cerberus base to learn about another Cerberus base.
That was also, I was like
basically.
trying to think, I was like, what do I add to that? And I'm like, that's screw. I'm just going to the thing we actually want to talk about, which is
I
the
mean,
elusive
like
man.
depending on like how your playthrough goes, that's kind of where Miranda shows up, which is like kind of neat depending on how you feel about Miranda. I know
Fuck
we have
that
some.
bitch.
Yeah, so
All right.
we don't. I don't really think we need to dig into it that much. I like Miranda. It was cool to see her, but it's not that important of a moment.
Yeah. But yeah, you get the elusive man in this game. So first of all, I don't know if we talked about him too much in Mass Effect 2. Incredible voice work. I think he's, I think he is one of the best voice characters. At least just like, I mean, like the whole game is voiced very well, but this one is especially. And also, so his kind of motivation is he isn't necessarily working. Well, at least at the start, he wasn't really working for the Reapers, and he's trying to more control them. But that does pit him up against you. But depending,
He at least thinks he can control them.
yeah, from his perspective, that's what he's thinking. But yeah, it's kind of after talking to him, and depending on which perspective, which path you're going with, you can kind of either convince him like, yeah, you are, or I'm guessing with the Renegade, you just fucking shoot him. And it's very interesting, and I don't know if it's a callback or just a weird coincidence, but if you go Paragon like I did for both, for the first and third game, you do technically convince two of the final bosses to shoot themselves in the head. And so if I had a nickel for every time I convinced a final boss of a Mass Effect game to kill themselves, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Right.
Quote. Done very well.
I had that one written down. I was like, God, we got to get through 3 hours of a podcast to get to this joke, but it's gonna be worth it.
No, I think you're right about that. Yeah, it's in general. I'm glad you pointed that out because like one of the things I really like about the elusive man in this game is like there's so many parallels between him and the Saren,
Yeah.
which I really dig. Like the fact that they both thought they could control it and like both get so lost in the sauce. The fact that you can both convince both of them to kill themselves.
Things too lost.
It's such a cool thing, and I agree. I think Martin Sheen does such a great job in this game, and he I mean not just this game, but just in general as like the elusive man. He just fucking kills it. You know this, Drew. Like he just, oh my god, he's so good.
He is. From the first time he spoke in Mass Effect 2, I was like, is that Martin Sheen? And I'm like, oh hell yeah, this guy is gonna fucking kill this role, and he did. And then
It's like, is that Academy Award winning Martin Sheen? It's like, fuck yeah, it is.
I was like, what are you doing here?
So yeah, his role in this game of being I'll be able to control it, and then as we roll into the final mission, seeing that, oh no, you were not able to control it and were indoctrinated, like you were saying, does align very well with parallels with Saren. And so let's kind of lead up to where we finally see him, um, and kind of the big fight to take back Earth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about the whole fight in general because like there's so much there.
Yeah. I will start off before we get into some of the more serious bits of it about something funny that I didn't really notice until
boy.
until Will lost his mind about it when he was
Yeah.
playing through it. So you have your like shuttle pilot,
Cortez.
Cortez.
Oh no, I know this part. Fuck me.
And so he's he's flying, he's going to drop you off. Of course there's like cannon fire everywhere and
Yeah.
whatnot, and you're like you've seen other ships go down and you're like, oh fuck. And he drops you off, and then he then tries to get out of there, and he's like dodging fire and whatnot. And then you just see the ship start to go down, and you have Shepard is like, Cortez, or he goes, Steve.
Yeah.
It's a really intense scream too.
It's
Like,
so
it-
intense. And then depending on if he on what you do, he'll live or not. And then if he lives, he's like, I'll be okay. And he's just Shepard replies, okay.
Okay.
It's like so deadpan. It was just they didn't record a separate okay or anything like that for this moment. They just used a standard okay that they've used in other dialogue
I
options.
didn't even realize that. That's so funny because he
just,
does
okay.
like scream because he thinks his.
No, I think he goes, you sure?
yeah, no, yeah, it is. It is like you sure. God, it took me a second.
And it's
like,
just
oh,
a
yeah, I fucking remember that.
deadpan fucking normal reply instead of something special for this intense moment.
Bro, and that's
It's
also
just-
like
it's,
I'm pretty sure that's
so
also the
fucking
last
funny.
that's the last like big thing Cortez does for the rest of the game. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Why? I don't think you actually see him. I think you could have a video chat with him towards the
Yeah,
end.
you do. But
Yeah, but it's just,
that's really about it.
they're just like Cortez. Oh, okay. Okay, you sure? All right, cool. All right, never mind. All right, let's go, guys.
Yeah.
Let's just walk past
All right.
that. Oh god, I forgot
Now on
about-
to the actual fight, which at least initially just feels like kind of it's not too hard initially as you're like moving up.
Yeah.
You eventually get to a point where you get to interact and have like your last conversations with a lot of your characters. You can check in with characters from Mass Effect 2, like Jack, because we completely skipped over this, but hey, she
There's
gets
a lot.
really good. She gets really good character development that you didn't see, Drew. And she becomes a teacher to these other biotics, basically.
She's kind of like fucking Wolverine, where she's just like this really grizzled, like kind of like fighter type who's now teaching a bunch of students. And it's actually kind of sweet in an endearing way of how protective she is of these biotic students.
Yeah.
Drew, do you remember the Grissom Academy mission at all?
Yeah. I know. I know. that
So
one.
so she would have showed up there.
Oh.
And
yeah.
it's one, she actually looks,
I've seen her
hot.
design. Yeah, she looks better.
Yeah.
She has a little bit of hair. No, because our friend Jonathan Drew Doster, who some of y'all might remember from the MCR episode, that is his like favorite female character, and like he technically, I don't know if like romance that character is the right option because
You can romance that character.
Okay, is it romance
Yeah,
or
you
is it
can.
more just like you sleep with and that's it?
Those are both
both.
options.
But if you sleep with her the first time she offers, you're locked out of the romance because it's kind of like you're just using her for her body, and she's like,
Okay.
all right, fine. Like you're not interested in me that way.
Yeah, but yeah, Doster like purposely like romanced her, so he was also quite upset about how it. She was the one who I'm like, because I didn't get to know Legion too well in the first game, because you got him so late. But Jack was the one I was like, shit, maybe I should replay the last mission, but I was like, I made my choices. Yeah. Anyway.
And I mean, and like, yeah, like Jack is admittedly, I get it. Like Jack is in the grand scheme of things not that important to the plot. Like, definitely not as important as like Legion is. But I do think her. But I do agree with Randy, where it's just like her character arc of where she ends up is so good and appropriate for her, especially since when you think about it, she is basically taken on the role as a biotic teacher because she doesn't want someone else to endure the same kind of abuse that she endured when she was young. Which is so fitting with that character, especially with the fact that she's defending her students from Cerberus. So it's it's poetic.
But yeah, basically, you get to check in with a bunch of other characters, and you get to have like these pretty much a final message, and you get to have a like you have this big speech right before going into the final battle, where you basically have to realign these missiles, all while being bombarded where the game's throwing you, especially on the harder difficulties, as many banshees as the game engine can allow.
Bro, you know,
basically
teleporting, screaming banshees.
You know what's almost harder than dealing with the banshees, in my opinion, is not only the banshees screaming at you, but then towards the very, very end, when a Reaper is shooting at you and the beam comes and freaking goes fucking like and shakes your controller, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just too much on my senses. Shut the fuck up. Like, it's one of the like, it's just like, oh,
now imagine doing that as the infiltrator class. Just trying to snipe anything.
Dude, it's just like, imagine trying to shoot or aim or do anything when someone grabs your head and just like shakes you violently and screaming you're just like, fuck off, this is not fun, please stop. Good lord, I was not a fan of the final mission. Like the actual like fight. Oh goodness. But yeah, sorry, Randy, continue.
But yeah, they pretty much throw as many like banshees and like brutes, like as many as they can, while you're all trying to get in and get these missiles lined up. Eventually you do get them off and are able to fire the missiles at the Reaper that's protecting this beam that would send you up to the Citadel, where we'll then get to the elusive man. But before that, you have a final push, and you're pushing towards this laser beam, all while the Reaper is firing down at you. You're seeing people get obliterated in front of you, and like it's an insane like charge, and especially if you like, Drew, did you bring Tally with you on this final mission?
Yeah.
The final
Oh
push.
my god.
Yeah.
Her fucking so basically, as you're pushing, because like when you get to this end beam, you really only like, you're not supposed to have any squad mates with you, so basically one of them gets hurt and the other one takes them back on the Normandy, and like they get out. And Tally, like, I didn't realize how like heartbreaking it was. Like, Tally has this amazing like voice line. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
Go for it. Yeah, you got
So
it.
basically, Shepard is telling Tally to like go home. He's basically telling her, it's like, hey, go home, fulfill your dream, make a home on Rannoch. And then, but Tally's just response is, it's something along the lines of like, but you're my home. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck?
I was like, fuck the universe, I'm going with them.
It's such a that last push is so awesome. I love. I've seen all the other like companion dialogues too, and they're all really good in their own respect as well.
I forget exactly what Garrus says, but because I think I didn't. Since the last time I played through the trilogy, it's been a hot minute.
It's been a bit, but Alex, she keeps me very well informed on what happens with Garrus. But apparently, she looked up some interviews with Jennifer Hale, and she said that like when she was recording a lot of her voice lines for Mass Effect 3, the one line that she knew for sure that she cried during was the goodbye scene to Garrus on like that scene.
Oh.
And it's like, God damn, that because like it's the specific dialogue you get when you romance him and you have to say goodbye to him. It's like, damn, God
All right,
damn.
I'm gonna have to look that up after this.
Jesus.
just,
Also,
just whenever you watch it, just remember that's the one that made the voice actress cry. So
oh
just
god,
remember that.
I'm not emotionally ready for that, or ever will be.
Uh,
Not the homie Garrus, man. So is it always your if you're bringing your romance partner, it'll always be them that gets hurt?
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. They take priority in getting hurt.
Weird thing, but I mean,
yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense, yeah.
But like all the other characters have really good pieces of dialogue too. If you were just friends with them as well,
Yeah.
like that's the thing too.
So Bobby, it's just
but
like if you kill the Reapers, I'll let you hit. That's the one, and that's the one ending.
Unfortunately, she's not a companion.
Shoot,
in
you're right.
Fucking
Yeah.
Shepard just like turns into Ultra Instinct and just blasts off to the fucking like crucible. No beam necessary.
He just starts
goes Super
punching
Saiyan.
Reapers. Yeah. He's like, fuck the crucible.
But I love that final push. I know you say you don't like the final mission. I really do. I like how fucking nuts it gets because of how combat heavy. Because it really does feel like is it difficult? Absolutely, it's a lot. But I like it because it just shows how desperate the situation has gotten. I love like how somber the moments are when you do have with your companions. One of my favorite Garrus lines happens here when you're talking to the base before the final push, and Garrus is just talking about like he's not sure about what human heaven or whatever is, but if you get the chance, look him up at the bar. And it's
basically.
like, damn, this fucking. It's like you're in it forever, man. Like God bless you. I love you, man.
Yeah.
But also I don't know. I'm a sucker for the trope of like make the final push and run immediately into the worst danger, even though like no one thought like, hey, maybe we should put Shepard in one of these big ass fucking tanks we have rolling in.
Bro, think
everybody
the
just
Lord.
running on their feet.
Thank the Lord they didn't think of that, so Shepard would have been dead. All of those tanks got fucking destroyed.
That's a fair point, I suppose.
Those tanks were fodder. I'm amazed that Normandy got where it could get.
Yeah, but even though as stupid as it was, I do like that final push. It's so cool. It's so cinematic.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that like it's just this final push and just everything is just getting blown up and you're just getting like the Reaper blast all around them.
No,
and man, Shepard gets so fucked up when he gets finally hit by it. Like I think technically he's only grazed by Harbinger's blast, but he gets fucked up.
Yeah, grazed by a blast that can one-shot a freaking spaceship.
Yeah, that's true. Fair.
Yeah.
And then
like
on
it's
top of all that,
gruesome. Like he's like his armor is melted into his skin, bro. Like goddamn.
Man, walk it off. I'm a Vanguard. I'll be fine.
and then were your Vanguard powers any good against the boss of the game, Marauder Shields?
Oh yeah, the meme, the legend, Marauder Shields.
Marauder Shields, the boss of the game.
Let's go. All right, I gotta explain it to Drew because obviously he's not gonna know. So
is it because it's technically the last enemy you kill?
He's the last enemy you kill, but also people were so mad with the original ending of Mass Effect 3 that as a joke, people were talking about how they made a meme out of the man Marauder Shields, the last guy you fight, technically, because they say that he was trying to stop you from seeing the bullshit ending of the game.
He was trying to help.
He was a hero and we didn't know it.
He was the hero we needed, but not the one we deserved.
Marauder Shield.
But
rip in peace.
But yeah, you do that big final charge into the big laser. Technically don't make it, but the Reaper just fucks off because it thinks you're dead, and so you do eventually. And this kind of leads to you going through basically the trash compactor. Which I guess I've skipped this joke, but the big reveal from the elusive man is that it's like, ooh, the Citadel is the key. Which, by the way, this feels important to bring
Wasn't that
up.
the key in the first game?
Yes, and also it feels very important
Yeah.
to bring up that when the Citadel is all folded up like that, it just looks like a big old space dildo. Like,
Yep.
Nice.
I don't know how familiar you guys with Austin Powers, but like the final scene of any Austin Powers movie is exactly what I'm thinking of. Just people looking up at this guy at the Citadel, like, oh my God, it's a giant. Cut to hot dog over here. What's that? Oh my gosh, that's a giant dick. Dick Sporting Goods over here, a big sale. Dick Sporting Goods having a big sale. Like, it's that joke. And that's what I'm thinking of people looking up at the Citadel. I'm just like, God, that's an enormous slog. Free slogs for sale. Like, that I can't think of the other parts, but like you get the idea.
Wasn't there there was like a Spaceballs type joke about that too, right? Like it was kind of similar.
That's awesome. That's why I was referencing. It's Austin Powers. Oh, I mean, there is a space. No, there's a. Oh, wait, sorry. Yes.
You're right. Austin Powers makes the joke,
I
but like
know.
I think Spaceballs also makes a joke like that too.
Yeah, I forget what space joke, but yeah, Spaceballs also has a similar joke to it. Anyway, enough dick jokes. Yeah, you get through there and you go through the trash
Never
compactor.
enough big jokes.
You're right. My fault. Penis. Anyway, so you get through the trash compactor of this giant penis, and there's only two people on it. It's you and your basically father, Anderson, and this is kind of what leads to the big showdown between you and the elusive man. Because he's been like fully controlled by the Reapers, and depending on the choices you make, you can either convince him like, dude, you're crazy, or like I said, if you're a renegade, I imagine you could just will yourself to shoot him. Is my guess. Like I said earlier, we're nice boys, so we convince people to shoot themselves. That's the message I got from Mass Effect. I feel like that seems right to me. But other than that, because like the elusive man fight is cool and interesting. I think it's a good conclusion for that character of just like this guy that could think he could take on the world just bit off more than chew. I think what is the best moment from that thing is the final scene that you have with Anderson. That
that final scene is amazing.
That was adorable, and I have a feeling Seth.
Adorable?
I don't know.
Yeah. I bawled my eyes out a lot, and yeah, Anderson is definitely one that got me.
Yeah.
It's just so. I think the thing that gets me about it is like, after all the crazy shit that happens and all this stuff, it's like it's just such a quiet moment with him, and it's like, goddamn, like Keith fucking David, bro. Like, I don't know, the man just gets me to tear up. But it's so good. It's such a good like conclusion to like as I've said before, Anderson and Shepard has always kind of had that like mentor student father son relationship, and just having it like in things with like him saying that he's proud of everything that Shepard's done, and he just tired is like, God damn, I'm so weepy.
And it means so much because, like, even though you don't in the same room with him a lot, this game you definitely talk to Anderson more, and especially all the, like, it makes all of the audio logs from, like, the Citadel DLC just hit so hard of just him like, he says it to you a lot, or he talks so big, like, a big game about you, and it's clear that he is proud of you, but just hearing him actually say it to you at the end is just... It means like so much.
Yeah, like Anderson is, I would say, the best human character in the game, hands down. Like, and I mean, you guys can feel free to like argue with me on that, but I have a feeling I'm not going to get many like many disagreements.
Bro, what you mean when Zahid is right there? No, I'm joking. You're right. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with this. What you mean when Caden gets headaches, though?
Hey, he's like the only human who can reave, though. So
Fair.
I think Miranda can too.
Which
but
is
she's
kind of
genetically
funny.
engineered to be able to do shit. So whatever.
No, I don't even think Miranda can either. Like, I think it's just Caden that gets it, which is fucking nuts. Like, obviously, you've probably seen the memes where it's just like, it's like Asari who spend literal centuries of their life trying to learn this one move, and Caden's like, oh yeah, I think I can do this now. But yeah, kind of getting back into it. Like, I love Anderson, and like, it's such like a good capstone to like that story. But something I also like to point out is technically the tradition of the first companion that you get in Mass Effect dies. It continues here.
Oh,
Mass
yeah.
Effect 1, it was Jenkins. Mass Effect 2, it was that one bald-headed motherfucker. Mass Effect 3, it's Anderson.
Dang.
Damn,
I never
I
realized,
never realized.
that. Neither of us
Yeah.
realized that. I was like, oh. Huh.
To be honest, I never caught on to that until I played the Legendary Edition. I have replayed this game like hundreds of thousands of times before the fucking Legendary Edition, and I'm just now like, oh, cool.
Damn.
But
That's wild.
enough like trivia.
Yeah.
It might be time to talk
Talk
more.
about the ending.
Talk about the big
Yeah,
thing.
the ending.
So, yeah, me and
This
Seth.
might take a minute.
Yeah, me and Seth actually love the ending. Fun fact. That we've talked a lot. No, I'm joking. So, yeah, the ending, the kid, and everything. Randy, me and Seth have kind of ranted already through various points of this podcast. So maybe it's best. Do you want to try to take this one? As we call. You can say no if you want. I'm not gonna.
I'd rather
Yeah,
not because I have
honestly.
more opinions about the actual selection, not so much what the kid's
Okay.
going on about.
You know, fair
I do
enough.
think
I'll-
that the fucking Star Child is like it's dumb that that's how the Catalyst was represented and whatnot.
Yeah,
but whatever.
so I guess I'll be brief about this, and I'm probably gonna get something wrong because even as I'm playing this, I'm like, what the fuck? Because again, it's the first time played, but like Shepard beats the Elusive Man, and he gets to the edge of the Catalyst or Crucible or the dick in the sky, whatever you want to call it, the MacGuffin, the giant MacGuffin in the sky, and he meets the Citadel or like this child VI, or at least taking the form of a child that also looks like the child that died in front of Shepard. Don't understand why. I'm sure you guys might have a lore reason on why, or it might just be a stupid, weird thing that they do. Anyway.
I think it's the latter if I remember correctly.
Of course it is. Anyway, the kid's basically like, he explains what me and Seth have already talked about how they created the Reapers because they always saw that every single cycle, organics created AI and then synthetics, and then the synthetics took over and killed organics. So they saw this cycle and thought, well, we're just going to kill the organics first. Like, as we've already mentioned, it's stupid. And Shepard also says this is stupid. So, he gives you a few choices. One is to basically like, and correct me if I get these names wrong, but essentially the destroy ending, where it's just like like you can just set this thing off and it'll just break everything within a galaxy wide radius and like put
Pretty much all AI, VI. So all of the Geth would die.
Yeah.
Edie would die. And there's not like we can repair them. Like no,
No,
they're
like
gone.
technology is done. It even says like there are people, if someone's on life support, they're dead. All of that gone, and we're
They
done.
even make a point of like Shepard. It's like Shepard. You are also mostly cybernetic because of the Project Lazarus, so you would also die.
Yes, that's the other thing. So, and it would reach like really far off into the galaxy. We don't know how. So that's a option. The other option, as Shepard's like, that's bullshit. Let's try again. The other option is the control ending, where you kind of put your, and it's it's weird. So apologies, Seth, because I'm sure you'll correct me on this, but like you essentially put your consciousness into it, and you can control the Reapers to an extent, and only the Reapers, to then kind of help out humanity and not kill them. But your consciousness, like your body is gonna die, but your consciousness and like the memories you have of Shepard, this person, will live on in this computer. So you as Shepard's dead, but there's like a copied version of you that's helping control the Reapers.
Yeah,
Okay.
to make it simpler, Drew, basically Shepard's consciousness gets copied on and it becomes a Reaper.
Yeah. It's like, that's the control ending. Arguably, like, yeah. Probably well, no, not the least casualty, because there's also, and I didn't realize this was even an option when I first played it, but these synthesize ending? Synthesis. I don't know how you get this one, but it is essentially...
Selected.
Well, I guess I need to talk to the kid more to, like, even have him explain this one, because I had to look this up.
Well, but also, like, your ending is, like, dependent on how many, like, assets you had going into the final fight. So making sure you kind of make choices that get you a lot of assets, and also, like, doing a good amount of the side content will pretty much, like, you don't have to have a lot. You need, like, what? I think, like, 2,500 assets or something to get the synthesis ending available.
Anyway, what the synthesis ending does, it basically uses the Crucible to mix synthetic and organic DNA, so all organics become part synthetic and all synthetics become part organic. So there is no difference anymore, at least to the eyes of the Reaper and to the eyes of most everyone else. So it's just one people now. Is what I got that. And then there is the do fucking nothing.
There's the refusal ending.
There's the refusal ending where Shepard says, "Fuck you, fuck that. I'm not using this."
And the Reapers just
and the
destroy
Reapers
everything.
win. And
it is all for naught.
And there's just it ends with, as Seth mentioned in the previous podcast, with Liara talking about on a thing of just like, this is the best. This is as far as we got. We built it. For some reason, it didn't work. Not sure why, but hopefully you can figure it out. And I guess someone down the line does, but you don't really get to see that. And so that's kind of the 4 endings, unless I didn't skip one, right?
But you got the general gist of it, yeah.
Okay, and so all 4 versions, except technically destroy, because you see Shepard breathe, depending on like your choices and different things.
Depending on war assets.
But honestly, I'm pretty sure that like, yeah, he breathes. I'm pretty sure he bleeds out like 5 seconds after that. But because there's no ships that can come rescue him, so he either bleeds out or starves. Anyway, or dies in the vacuum of space. Anyway, Shepard doesn't get to live at any of the endings in the traditional sense. There's an argument with control, but that's kind of all the endings. Me personally, and going in, I didn't know what each of them won. I got the control ending, where I even wrote down, it's like, I guess I'm God now to these people. Because if I have the power of the Reapers, that could just end anything, but I just use it to help everyone out. And so I was okay with the ending. At least, okay, let me rephrase. Okay with the one I got of the 4. But it's a interesting thing that I can...
say that you got, like, you could select pretty easily. It's like, this is the blue one.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Control.
Yes, I get...
It's even like, this is very blue while you're looking at it. This is while he's describing it.
I'm going to say God. I picked it. Yeah, that's the one I picked. So, yeah. That's the one I picked, Randy. What are your thoughts about the ending, and which one did you kind of go with?
So I've played through the game twice. Um, and the first time I chose Synthesis because I was Paragon and I was like, all right, this ends up with like everyone still alive. And as it kind of goes over it, it's like, yeah, basically because of these like no differences, we were able to like end famine and whatnot, and um, more people prospered and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, yeah, this was the choice.
Hmm.
This was the good choice. And then after that, I did the control or not the control, the destroy ending on my second playthrough as a renegade. So
Yeah. So here's kind of like my thoughts. Well, I guess Seth, which ending, at least your first time playing through, which one did you choose?
I also went with like the synthesis ending.
Okay.
Drew, you're about to step into some weird fucking territory right now. Because like right now, what you're in the territory of is like it's a lot of like theory on what these different endings mean. Obviously, there's the more like with the extended cut, they added the narrations to be a bit more direct of what they mean, but there's also things that are kind of left intentionally vague, like the exact fate of like what does happen to a lot of the synthetics if you go with the destroy ending and stuff like that, and also the things about like the synthesis ending. It's like, is it really the best option? And there's some weird stuff with that too. But yeah,
So
and
here's
then theories, fan theories all around. Because God, we've had 10 years to think about this shit.
okay. So before I we get into theories, and I don't even know if I want to get into this, but like the way that I kind of look at a lot of these is, I mean, yes, no matter what, the game ends with the conversation between the old man and the boy, and I do like the line, especially with, I don't know if it's all of them, but at least with the control ending, he does that, like, tell me about the shepherd. And it is kind of a thing like, oh yeah, shepherd, like he shepherds sheep, he guides the way. I'm like, oh yeah, that's, how did I not realize that for 3 games? And I'm like, oh, well, it makes sense now. Anyway, the control and the synthetic endings, I'm sure there is a big difference. But they seem ultimately really similar to all of them. It end with a big some colored explosion chasing the team. I also did have in my notes in the control ending, which I guess also technically the synthetic ending as well. Joker is speeding the ship away to, in his justification, he doesn't know what this does. So he's just running from what he thinks is an explosion. But he almost crashes and kills the entire crew for a effect that is not going to affect him in the slightest. Unless this is the destroy ending. That
Yeah.
said, the control ending and synthetic ending seem really like they end pretty similar. Like,
uh,
They're kinda. It's weird, and like that's the thing. All the endings are kind of framed as, unless you have really low war assets. Whenever you go into that fight, like extremely low assets, all the endings are kind of framed as ultimately good things, and what happens happens. So like the control ending is like, yes, Shepard does take control of the Reapers, and he does call them off, and they leave humans alone, or they leave the organics alone. It's like, all right, cool. And then the synthesis ending is like, yeah, everyone is happy together. Everyone is like all either synthetic or organic, like kind of both at the same time, and they're all happy together. And the destroy ending's a little bit more, I guess, darker, obviously, because it includes the eradication of all synthetic life. Um, but even that gets a little iffy too. Of like, wait, is it really that way? And like I said, we'll get into that later. But I think the thing is, all the endings are kind of made out, unless you, like I said, you have like really low war assets. They're all made out to be mostly good, you
yeah.
know. And I know for a lot of people it bothered them because I think one of the big things is this game had like a crazy unrealistic almost thing put on it, where I think people were hoping that you would get individualized endings for literally everything and everyone and every single person. Like
Yeah.
I'm which maybe for a game like this, if there was one game to have something like that, it would be
It would be
Mass
something like
Effect.
Mass Effect, yeah.
But I mean, simply put, they just didn't have the time. Also, it would be a crazy it would be a crazy undertaking to try to accomplish something like that.
Oh no, I think
Um,
it's just one of those things where it's like, I understand, like, if there's only 4 different endings, that's like, you know what? As I mentioned earlier, like you just said, it's hard to make a lot of different ones. But I think the main issue I have with them is the fact that, like, 2 of them are very similar together, and honestly, even the Destroy one is pretty similar to it as well, all things considered. The only one that's vastly different from all of them is the
Refusal.
is that you don't do anything, which is a weird one to pick.
Well, so that was added in after as with part of the extended cut, as like a little. I think it was not really meant to be treated as a real ending, as more like a little Easter egg kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, you could also do this.
Yeah.
But God, it's whenever we get to the endings, it's always so weird. Over time, I think that a lot of the hate for it has kind of been blown out of proportion. Is it great? No, I don't think it's great, but I've kind of learned to accept it and just like it is.
Yeah,
what
just
it
like
is.
yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, it's not really that bad. And I think a lot of what it helps is like because of how open these endings are, they really are open to interpretation.
Yeah.
There's we're not going to get into it, but there's a whole thing with indoctrination theory.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, and we're not going to get into it, but it's basically like a lot of people saying that the control and synthesis endings are bad because it's basically the Reapers essentially getting what they want by tricking Shepard because they've been secretly indoctrinating him this whole time.
So
And there's some credence to that theory, but like I said, there's not enough time to get into it.
basically, the idea is like, you know, this game where all your choices matter. Here's the theory: your choices didn't. Unless
Yeah,
you destroyed,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting. Like I said, a lot of people talk. I think it's a mix of genuine, interesting, like thinking about like, oh, what could these mean? They are very open even after the extended cut was released, but it's also one of those endings where a lot of people are just coming up with stuff to frankly probably just cope.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it.
I just
Which is fine because I'm of the mind which is like the endings are kind of left so open, just like yeah, you might as well make up your own until someone says otherwise. If you want to know my personal take, I go with the ending I always go with is the destroy ending.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, the reason why is because I do kind of subscribe sort of belief of like control and synthesis has always control is basically playing exactly into the elusive man and Saren what they wanted, and it feels wrong to me. It's just like taking control of the Reapers, like becoming a Reaper. It feels like I'm compromising everything I was fighting against the whole game. It doesn't feel true to myself to go with that ending. Not to mention, like, I still don't. There's no guarantee that the Reapers won't come back and all this shit.
Also, I know you just mentioned it about being like you're basically like, yeah, the elusive man was right, but also Shepard basically becomes an AI. And so you're just doing exactly what Leviathan did, basically. Being like,
Yeah.
I know the solution to this issue. Let's make an
More
AI
synthetic.
to solve it.
Yep. Make an intelligence that will solve it, and they build more Reapers. So yeah, you're doing exactly that.
That's my issue with Control.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So
that's a fair point.
I don't like it. It's so, and plus also, it's the one ending that both bad guys have advocated for, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah. There are slight variations on it. Like if you're a Paragon and you're doing Control, like it is more interpreted to be like you're gonna use it for good. But if you're like Renegade Shepard and you choose Control, it's like Yeah, no, I'm gonna like abuse my power
Maybe
to like.
see,
Yeah.
Or
see
it's,
maybe
it's not
that's
said like I'm gonna abuse it, but it's like
like I'm gonna
it's
keep control of
implied
the
that just
world.
like I'm gonna make sure every little like maybe not every little thing, but like that everyone falls in line
Yeah,
basically.
and
And like oh, falls in line. That's
maybe that's
Yeah.
why. Maybe that's why I have such a different view of control because I didn't realize that Paragon technically also changes it.
Yeah,
Because
it
I
does.
have
Oh,
okay, because I did Renegade, so I'm like, oh well, it's me in there, and so Shepard literally built a utopia, and it's just like, now I'm just gonna let people do what they want, like I'm just gonna chill. So that's why I'm like, oh well, it's different from what Saren and that guy. But now I see what you guys are saying. If you're Renegade, then it's literally like, oh, that's exactly what those guys were trying to do.
but also like it's open to interpretation. Like I said, it's open to interpretation. You can
Yeah.
if you want to truly believe that like my version of Shepard becomes a Reaper, but uses that power to build a utopia for everyone. It's like, all right, cool. You can believe that if you want.
I also
There's
like,
nothing to stop you.
I also like that he just goes to the Normandy as a Reaper and is like, Joker, everyone look, it's me, and just like starts talking to him as Shepard. Everyone freaks out.
I will say this much. It's not Shepard. It is an AI that has his memories and his thoughts and perhaps some of his same beliefs, but it is not
Yeah, I
Shepard.
know. I
you just created another Star
yeah.
Child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I
That-
just
they
want,
make
but
that
it's a
pretty
funny
clear.
joke. Yeah.
But and then like for me, the synthesis ending has always rubbed me the wrong way because one, in a weird way, it still feels like I'm kind of doing exactly what the Reapers wanted. But another thing that always, and this is a personal thing, it always kind of bothered me that you're basically forcibly altering the DNA of
Yeah.
every single living thing in the and synthetic thing in the galaxy without any of them having a choice. And it's
Yeah.
like I'm putting
and like the ending. Everyone's just like, oh, and everyone was happy about this. I was like, what?
it's a little too convenient. Yeah, that's what makes it kind of hard to believe. Is it's like it's a little too convenient. Not to mention the synthetic effect on everyone looks like crap. Everyone's
yeah.
just green.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Green.
And it has like everyone's like little thing is going. I'm like, ooh, that's weird. That's really weird.
From what I heard, the synthesis ending was added in because EA demanded from BioWare after they were already being crunched and shit. It's like, oh, what you put in a control and destroy ending, throw in a third ending that's like people can get to make everyone happy. And they were like, what the fuck? Okay, I guess we will. So they synthesis was literally like a half-assed ending. Like there's no way around it. Like
That's what
they were kind of like, all right.
feels like, yeah.
I personally go with destroy because it's like one, how you get the ending is so badass. It is Shepard approaching this generator and blowing it to fucking bits
Yeah, he fucking
as
shoots
everything's
it.
exploding around them.
Yeah.
And then like they're getting like flashes of like everybody that's been with Shepard up to this point. And it's like, oh man, that's really cool. I like that ending a lot, and it feels most real to me because Shepard is like, I got to get this done no matter what. Take down the Reapers, and what kind of helped, and like obviously it does take out synthetic life. It would most likely kill Edie and most Geth, but because the destroy ending is and Drew, you say like, oh, you don't think Shepard survives, even it shows him breathing. I think he does, just because in order to get that specific version of the ending, you have to do a lot. You have to basically have almost a perfect fucking game to get that ending.
Yeah.
At least it used to be. Nowadays, they've lowered the requirement on it, so you basically just have to do maybe a little bit more extra and go for mostly good options to get a lot of war assets to get that ending, because they changed the requirements in the Legendary Edition. So it's a lot easier to get now.
They also took out the whole multiplayer requirement for Galactic Readiness.
Oh yeah, that
There's
whole
obviously
shit,
no
Jesus.
multiplayer in Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
The only reason it doesn't, and I
But,
understand
hold
that's
on,
like,
I'm not-
oh, sorry, my fault.
Yeah, but so the idea is that the war assets help with the Crucible being built. The more war assets you have, the better the Crucible is before it fires. The idea to make it more accurate. So if you do the standard destroy, if you do the like bog standard bad destroy ending, it shows the pulse not only wipes out a lot of the synthetics, it also kills a lot of organics too. So it's almost like barely contained energy and it blows out. But the more war acids you have, the less the damage is. So my theory is by having this many war acids, if Shepard can survive it, because he was one of the people that was for sure going to die, then that means there's a chance that other synthetic life out there can also survive the attack too.
Okay.
That's kind of the theory I subscribe to. And also, I just stick with it because I really want the Reapers dead. I really feel like I don't like the idea of working with them because they have inflicted so much evil and trauma on the galaxy. How could you work alongside something knowing that it like in the last war it liquefied your family and turned it into fodder in its war? How can you work alongside that thing? So nah, the Reapers had to go. That's why I went with the destroy ending. And I like the idea that Shepard is alive. Tally said that Tally said that just like when she looks at Shepard, she sees her, she is home, and it's like, God damn it, I'm coming back to bring her home. Shepard's gonna live. So that's why I go with the destroy ending.
This is very
That's fair. The perfect destroy ending is very like it's
good.
It
very
much, I like destroy ending.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think mainly what I would have liked to see from the endings is like I think more drastic differences. Like I think more just like I want an ending where like and like one that like the ones where like you probably don't either mean to do this on purpose or just like it's just how it is, but like one where like yeah, synthetics all take over. Like literally everyone becomes a robot, or which I guess that's what the joint thing was trying to do, but not really. Or one where like maybe if you get all maxed out or like and you actually finish the crucible, you're like you can make the Reapers attack themselves or attack other synthetics, you know, like something where it's like they're drastically different from each other. I just made up examples. I don't know if that'd actually be good, but you get what I mean, like where it all
no, that's understandable.
Yeah, like it all ends with a big explosion, and either like the two with control or synthetic are relatively similar, and then destroy, like you said, is probably more different because it actually just straight just takes them out, and there's just no more trace of them ever. So I don't know. I wish there was a bit more variety. I don't mind the ones that we have per se. I just kind of wish they weren't all big, blank-colored explosion. You know?
Yeah, and that's unfortunately that's still a holdover from like the original endings.
Yeah, and like that's nothing the Legendary Edition could do other than just like add a huge extra chunk part of the game. But that's so much work.
But I will say that like that's kind of like the nice thing about the extended cut. That you definitely probably know about now is that basically the little post game narration is very good for kind of that. Yeah.
Just tell me about the
like
Shepherd.
Just to kind of because used to that post game narration stuff wasn't there. That kind of helped explain like kind of the state of the galaxy afterwards.
Jeez, wait, so it just did the explosion? They just walked off, and you were just like, what?
Yep, that's it.
Oh wow,
not joking. That was the old ending.
Wow. Okay. That's a way to end it. Huh.
So yeah, no, I'm glad that they definitely like the extended cut is definitely like way better. I know people weren't happy with it, but I think the reason they weren't happy with it is because they just fundamentally had well, that and also like I think they just had fundamental issues with the ending that they wanted to like gone. Like obviously everyone didn't like the Star Child for obvious reasons. I don't like the Star Child.
Is Star Child
here's
controlled?
What I will
Wait.
say.
Which one? Wait. Star Child is you mean the literal fucking child? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will say that one thing about the Star Child is that I always thought was weird is why, because it's all tied to Shepard's dreams, which is supposed to be, I think, his like survivor's guilt or whatever.
Okay.
One thing that always kind of bothered me about that is why did they pick the child and not like one of
The
Shepard's
other
companions
Vermeer
that died?
survivor.
Dude, you know what would have been
Yeah,
wild?
or like the Vermeer survivor.
You know what would have been wild, actually? What if it was just Anderson? If it looked like Anderson, because he just lost him.
Could work.
So that probably would, and that's a guaranteed. Well, I mean, I guess there's probably some way you can lose Anderson before that. Maybe, I don't know.
No, there isn't.
Okay, then, but like
But
that's
I
a
think-
guaranteed
I like-
thing. Yeah.
And that could work. I mean, literally anything.
Yeah,
honestly.
or just
Eh.
or just make it Shepard's model, or make it the reverse
Yeah.
gender of Shepard and look again like, what are you? I'm just something made of a construct so that you could talk to. Why is it this random kid?
Yeah, the random kid is random.
There's so many.
I
like-
definitely,
yeah.
I definitely like. I'm definitely with Randy on this. I'm of the camp of like. I thought it would have been smarter if it was the Vermeer survivor or the other Vermeer person, the one that you left behind,
Oh, Ashley.
because that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I listen. I know you have issues with Ashley, but for real though, like think about
No,
it. It's
that
just
would
kind
have
of
been,
like the first
that would have
one.
been a sick callback. No, and I like jokes aside, meme aside, that would have been cool, because like the whole survivor's guilt thing, and just like you have to look at
Yeah.
that person that you essentially sentenced to their death.
Yeah. So I definitely with Randy on that. Like or any of the companions really, like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Morden, Thane, anyone.
Or just like maybe whoever you had a relationship with, or just hell, it could have been.
I think it should. I think it needs to be someone that died though. I do
Oh, that's
think
fair.
that
Yeah,
just
that's fair.
because it needs to be someone that Shepard feels guilty about.
Yeah. So maybe like depending on your playthrough, it changes the model. Like you don't even need to change the voice, just like the model of just like, did you like?
Well, there's probably a mod for that there somewhere at least.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
probably.
for my playthrough, maybe it looks like Legion because I got them killed, or maybe maybe it looks like Thane. There's tons of people.
Well, Thane dies in every playthrough.
Yeah, I know. I'm
that
just
could-
thinking of dead characters. Or I guess I did pick one.
Either
but,
way,
yeah.
I think because like the Shepard, and I know we didn't talk at all about it, but the Shepard dream sequences are an interesting idea. I actually kind of like the idea behind it, showing that his mental state is decaying because of admittedly all the horrible shit that he's going through right now. But I think it would have been better if it was a character that he actually cared about. Because when you're running through the thing, you're already hearing the voices of those who died. Like you're hearing the person who died on Vermeer. You're hearing the voice of Morden or Thane or whoever else has
Yeah.
died in your playthrough. And it's like, if you're already hearing them in the forest, why are you chasing after this little kid? Like I get it. The little kid, it sucks. The little kid died like that, but there's people that Shepard was much closer to that he lost. So, but yeah, I think that's a lot on the ending.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I understand now, because I remember one of the few things I knew about Mass Effect before I was starting this, just because it was such big news, is people got pissed off about the ending. And I'm not saying I like completely hate it, but I understand the frustration, especially at the time. If this was like, if I had been playing these games when they were like originally coming out, I would also be upset with this. Like,
Yeah.
like as a diehard fan, but I don't think it's awful, and I think there's still more good in this game than there is bad. But that, especially for a series as beloved and as high a standard, like writing wise, as Mass Effect, this is a bit strange to end like this.
It's a weird miss on them
Yeah.
when they're usually hitting homers. It's like, that's weird that you struck out on this.
Yeah.
here's what I'll say, and it's something that kind of helps. It's also like a coping method, admittedly, but it's something that it's worked for me. I've had conversations with Jake a lot about this game. But you know Jake, we're friends.
Met him before.
Yeah, so something that he told me about Mass Effect 3, and it's kind of the idea I've carried on ever since then, is that to him, the ending of Mass Effect 3 really doesn't matter to him because he feels like the whole game is the ending of the series, if that makes sense. Like he says, like when I like to him, it's like the final cutscene isn't what gives him closure. What gives him closure is the interactions with your squad mates, how the plot lines that have been set up over these years are finally concluded in the game. That to Jake is the real ending of the game. And ever since he told me that, I'm like, yeah. No, I think I vibe with that way better.
That's a good way of looking at it. Because there's so many. Mass Effect isn't one story. Like, the Reapers is the main one or the biggest one, but it's not the only story of Mass Effect. You know, Mass Effect is the story of the Genophage, the story of Garrus, Rex, Liara, Tali, all these other people, this whole galaxy. Everyone has a story. And Mass Effect 3, for majority of it, I'd say like 90% of like the actual personal stories hit really hard when you end it. They hit really hard when you get that ending. It's just this last one that doesn't hit. So, that's a good way of looking at it, of just like, I'll take the one bad ending with the Reapers for all these other amazing endings with everyone else.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I think it kind of helps with, in general, with video games, where it's not about, in order to enjoy a game, you have to beat it or anything. It's about finding the thing that you enjoy most about a video game, whether it's its story or its gameplay, and really delving into that and enjoying that, and not worrying so much of, like, have you reached the ending or not,
Yeah. Well,
we're getting all philosophical about video games. Randy, you got anything to throw in?
This is the big Mass Effect finale talk, Randy.
I really like the trilogy, and I mean, I'm down for another playthrough again soon. And if people haven't played it, they should play it again.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Do it again.
All right.
Renegade
All right,
playthrough, Drew. Go. Entire trilogy.
Dude, see, you guys don't want me to play through that game again, because the next time I play through that game, it's not a Renegade playthrough, it's a Genocide playthrough. We are getting kills like they're achievements. I'm killing everyone. I'm gonna figure out how to kill both Kanan and Ashley and Vermeer. Fucking watch me. I'm gonna get to the Reapers and they're gonna be like, "You have this many chores." Like, dude, I've already done half your work for you. I don't got a crew. It's just me and Joker and a ship. That's it. I'm gonna get everyone. I'm gonna figure out how to get everyone killed.
That could be fun.
That could
honestly.
No, the genocide.
Like, in all seriousness, you would see a side of the game that most people don't ever see, because basically Bioware does a really good job of making sure there's replacement characters for everyone that dies. Like, you saw the replacement one for Legion, right?
Yeah.
Well, imagine that for literally every other character in the game. They have something ready like that to go. So
That's
not a lot of people see it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the B crew freaking playlist. I'm pretty sure there are certain characters that well, let me think here. There are certain characters that you cannot kill up until maybe the entire. I don't think there's a way to actually kill Liara. The more I think about it,
There's not.
Liara cannot die. Joker
can't die.
Edie can't die
up until the ending if you do a certain one.
Yeah.
Everyone in 2 can technically die at some point because of the suicide mission.
Yes.
You have to at least have either Kanan or Ashley. You have to have one or the other. You can't. obviously you're not gonna have
And you
both.
can kill the other one eventually in 3.
Oh, you're right. You can kill them in 3. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Um,
It
it could be done. So you would end the game with 2 people. You would have your team would only be Liara and Edie. But yeah, I think that's everything. I'm really glad that you guys convinced me to play the Mass Effect series. I've had a like huge blast with this. And you know, like Randy said, go play it, have fun if you haven't already.
Yeah, I mean the Legendary Edition's out. It's definitely not still like $60. I don't think.
Probably
At
not.
least I don't think it is on Steam or anything like that.
Yeah, probably not. All right. This is a long podcast, and normally we do end everything with a fresh pick, but I will ask what your guys' thoughts are, because we have been going on for a while. Do you want to end it here? Or you want to give our fresh picks of the week? Seth?
I got a fresh pick, so I could do either. Honestly, I don't really care.
We can go quick.
I can do a fresh pick. It'll be quick.
We'll go quick with the fresh picks. All right, then Randy, let's start with you. What is your fresh pick of the week?
Who would have guessed? It's Spider-Man 2, because that game is so good.
Yeah.
It's not game of the year for me as of the moment. That's still Baldur's Gate, but it's still really good. They improve a lot on the like web swinging mechanics. They add in a bunch of cool stuff. Combat gets a good upgrade as well. Story wise, I think not as much of an emotional impact as the first one they did, but still very good. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people already know about Spider-Man 2 that just came out on PS5. But if you haven't, what are you doing? Go play the first one, Miles Morales and 2.
Yes.
There you go. Fresh pick.
Freaking.
I want to jump in with that too. Is like I agree with Randy's points on most of it. I played a good amount of it now, and I've got to say that I do love like the game. Like they're not so much really changing the gameplay up in any super crazy way, but they're really refining it. Like the combat is better. The stealth is about the same, really. They haven't really made many improvements to that, but the web swinging definitely is the best part. I know that in our is it still fresh of Marvel Spider-Man, I did praise the web swinging, but I did criticize that it does kind of feel like it kind of gets very samey at a certain point, and you lose a lot of it doesn't feel like you get to maintain a lot of the high speed or physicality like older games. But I think the new moves that you get in Marvel Spider-Man 2 really keeps it in. So it's it's a big improvement. Like the web swinging is just so much better in Spider-Man 2. Quick tip for a lot of people, I highly recommend going into your options and turning off swing assist. Make it so that you are more purposeful in how you swing, because basically turn off swing assist, turn on fall damage, because basically what it'll do is like basically hitting objects or running into walls will interrupt your swinging, and it takes a while to get used to, but it's so much more fun and so much more satisfying. And then it feels less like you're just holding right trigger and Spider-Man's doing all the cool options for you, like AC Unity fucking parkour. You're actually having to think through what you're doing, and I love that. So
yeah,
I love the web swinging. It's so good.
No, you definitely. You know a game is good when technically I spent like $500 on it. That's because this is the game. You know, not Elden Ring, not God of War, not even the first Spider-Man. This was the game.
Elden Ring's on Xbox.
Or sorry, not Elden. God, I'm getting tired too. Bloodborne. None of these other PS exclusives did it, but finally Spider-Man 2. That's what convinced me to like, you know what? I'm just doing it. So I have a PS5 now, and I'm actually playing this game, and yeah, it's phenomenal. So it's a very fun game, and yeah, go pick it up. With that said, Seth, what is your fresh pick of the week?
My fresh pick is a game I've been playing on PC/Steam Deck called Amid Evil. I recommend a lot of like these older style shooters, and it's really no different here. A medieval is neat just because, unlike a lot of other older style shooters, instead of guns, the quote unquote guns and finger quotes that you get are magical melee weapons, because it is a sort of think 80s 90s kind of fantasy high fantasy setting where the game is. You play as the champion, and you're just here to defeat the dark forces. That's literally the name of everything. That's it. That's your job, is just kill all this shit. But what really makes the game work is just because the weapons are so cool. Like, you have a scimitar that shoots out a great big green blast. You have like this trident that called the Volt Ride, that shoots lightning, where it will overcharge an enemy and then it will like chain lightning other enemies and kill them. There's all kinds of cool little neat weapons like that, and they're all melee weapon kind of themed. But kind of the cool thing I really like about this game is its art direction. It has a sort of like very chunky 3D look, like a old PS1 game, but it's also been cleaned up a lot because it's using a lot of modern like lighting systems and like texture mapping and all that jazz. You know, big $3 words that I'm sure NVIDIA likes to use on their boxes. But it absolutely looks gorgeous. The best example I can get is look up a medieval The Forges level, because I remember when I saw The Forges level, I thought like it's probably going to be like every other level in a game like this, where it's just going to be a big industrial area with lots of traps and lots of lava. But whenever I started the level, it drops you into this like big open area. It's dark at night and raining. The lightning is actually lighting up the whole area, and you're just seeing these big metallic structures with like these intense red lights just beaming in the mist. The best way I could describe the feel of it is it was like some sort of weird hybrid of like Blade Runner and Conan the Barbarian in terms of its visuals. It's like, this was not at all what I was expecting. And it keeps up that creativity of the visuals of its levels throughout all the other levels. So yeah, if you're into older style shooters and you want something that's like very visually like trippy and like just awesome to look at, try out a medieval. It's fucking awesome.
All right. We'll have to check it out. And finally, for my fresh pick of the week, I'm going to recommend a movie, and it is no surprise that to anyone that this movie is not only good, it is well acted, and it'll probably be nominated for an Oscar. But the other day, I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's latest film. It has Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. And of course, hearing those names, you're already like, well, that's going to work, and that's going to be well written, well directed, and well acted. And it is all of those things. It's quite good. It tells, the story of the Osage people. And fun fact, I didn't realize this until I did research after the movie. This is investigation in these murders, like the true story of these, led to the creation of the FBI. That's what this all led to. But it's a very... If you don't already know the story of the Osage people, it's a very informative and like really interesting story. And yeah, I kind of recommend. It's probably a lot of movies nowadays aren't getting a lot of advertisement because of the whole writer strike and everything. But it's nice to go into a theater and watch like, okay, this is some like high class, like very top of line, as people say, true cinema. I always think that term's dumb, but you get what I'm saying. Fair warning, though. I'd say go see in theaters, but it is a Martin Scorsese film, so it's going to take like most of your day to watch this film. But still, a very good movie, a very good time, and you should check it out. But that is everything that we have to talk about in this big old two-parter. I want to thank Randy for trucking through us, staying up later, and recording this. Appreciate you, man.
I'm gonna get 5 hours of sleep for work.
You'll be fine. Just
okay.
Drink a Red Bull in the morning. You'll be fine. You're young. And I want to thank...
I already do that. Anyway,
Well, that's why you're crashing. 'Cause
I'll
you
drink two.
There you go.
Jeez,
All right.
dude.
And I want to thank Seth for coming in and talking about his favorite video game. It was a big ask, I know.
Anytime.
Yeah, I know. It was a big ask.
Anytime.
Your expertise was very appreciated. And I want to thank, obviously, you guys for listening. Huge shout out to Seth's friend Alex, by the way, who has been mentioned at every single one of these Mass Effect podcasts. I've never met her personally, but she sounds like a very wonderful person. And it's actually a huge help because she brings, through Seth, it brings a different insight into this game. So if you've listened this far, thank you, Alex. And thank you, everyone else, for listening. Have a nice day and stay safe out there. Goodbye.